Do we have any public out there?
We do have one member of the public.
All right, good job. Human Relations Commission, I am grateful we've made it through another year. We are here at our retreat. I would like to first start with our retreat, and today's date is February 12th, 2022. We've had a busy year last year, but we're moving expeditiously through this. I'd like to do roll call, so can staff do roll call, please?
Vice Chair Eberly,
Here.
Commissioner Kraus,
Here.
Commissioner Regier,
Here.
Commissioner Savage,
Here.
Chair Smith,
Present.
Councilmember Stone,
Here.
all present. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted, do we have any agenda changes or requests or deletions?
I do.
Yes.
I'm wondering, we don't have that many participants, but I'm wondering if we could adjust the time for, because this is our retreat, instead of having 15 minutes for item number 4, if we could have just, if there's more people, I think that they should be able to speak. And I think also for oral communications, I think this is a big retreat once a year.
Yeah,
and I think that's part of our participation in our community.
We will definitely allow people to speak. We've made accommodations that, unlike our traditional meeting, because this is a year of planning and people have a lot to say, we're going to give them 5 minutes to comment. So we will go with that. All right.
So no, my question is, so you gave them 5 minutes, but there's 45 minutes. So if there's more than, if we go past the 45 minutes, are we going to allow them to go on?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, I'm just saying because the agenda says 45 minutes.
That's all
I
right.
don't see where you say it says 45 minutes.
It says
Time
15.
period?
It says,
Oh, no.
it says
Those are just estimated times.
I just want to make sure that people know if they're looking at the agenda, that we're not going to cut it off.
we are not
Good.
going to do that.
Good, thank you.
All right. We have oral communications. If anybody in public would like to comment at this time, they can raise their hands. Our oral communication time will be 5 minutes.
Terry had his or her hand raised earlier, but now it's down. I'm not sure if this person's the one to speak, but we can give them an opportunity.
Terry, would you like to speak? You would have to unmute yourself, please, Terry.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you hear me now, Coloma?
Yes, we can.
Oh, hi. I'm usually used to seeing a whole gallery of people. But anyway, my name is Terry Acebo Davis, and I served as an arts commissioner chair in the past with the city. I've been following politics for a long time in our city of Palo Alto. And I do have a lot of concern about what happened at the city council meeting the other day. And Reverend Smith and I talked about that on the phone the other day. So I'm hoping that part of this meeting will address some of that. Essentially what happened was there was a discussion about the vendors and closing the streets. There were 11 speakers. One of them was, I knew a lot of the speakers, and the second to the last speaker was Rebecca Eisenberg. So she gave her spiel on her thoughts about the closure and her thoughts about our community. And then she ended her conversation. I thought that she was right on with her speaking. I did listen to this whole meeting 3 times, actually, especially that part. The last speaker was someone that identified themselves as a council person, and they didn't say their name. And when they got on the line, it seemed to be a man with one of those muffled speakers. And he started saying something, but then he went on to use the F word towards Rebecca. and then said some further things. And by then, Pat Burt, the mayor, cut the speaker off. I actually talked to several people involved with the city, including 2 council people about that, and also Coloma. And I was wondering why initially they did not apologize to Rebecca for that rude interruption. So, and I'm a person of color, and was the first person of color on the Arts Commission. And I'm very sensitive to issues. I'm an artist myself, and I do a lot of work about cultural identity. And, you know, that's kind of a come and gone in terms of trends, but it's really up there now that we've seen so many people being killed in the light of politics. Anyway, just to get back to that, it seems as though we are trying to do something about this in terms of trying to identify who that caller was. A police investigation is out there. My husband, Mark Weiss, made a complaint directly to the police and talked to Reverend Smith about this issue a couple times. But we need to address these things. Rebecca is a Jewish American woman. And, you know, there is hate crime with everyone if you're on the other side of whiteness. And I just think that a lot of stuff does get brushed under the rug. But I do feel that the council people need to be talking about this and saying the things they're going to do to help the community understand that, you know, everyone is equal in our community. And I also just retired as a nurse from the emergency room, and I saw all of my patients that way. And it just, you know, I understand humanity. A lot of people only understand money in this town. So anyway, that's a mouthful. But I see that in the mission statement for the Human Relations Committee, all it says is look at racial problems and equity. And I believe that that's what we should be doing, but this should be a public, you know, address. And I believe that our city council people, our leaders in our community should be looking at a meeting that just addresses this issue. Thank you very much. And I'm open for any comments.
Thank you for your comment.
Anyone else from the public?
Chair, I don't see any other participants.
Thank you so much. Let's move to, oh, I know that we have Councilmember Stone with us. I know he has an extremely busy Saturday. So as chair, before I go over my stuff for the year, which is our first item, I would like to just yield the floor to our council liaison for this year and last year, and give him a few words, because I know he has a busy day. I know this is not protocol, but I think it would be good to hear from him.
Thanks, Chair Smith. I appreciate it. Yeah, sorry to budge in here on your meeting, but yeah, it'll be a little hectic scheduling everything today. So I appreciate the time. Yeah, a few updates. I appreciate the public speaker bringing up the really hateful and racist remarks at the end of Monday's council meeting. I know on Tuesday, policy and services, the one thing on our agenda item was regarding race relations. And so we spoke about that incident at policy and services. And one of the things that was referred out of that meeting, it'll go to council before I guess it gets referred back to the Human Relations Commission, is kind of continuing. It will be continuing the work that you've been doing over the last couple of years. And so I do want to compliment the HRC for really, and the great work that you did last year, continuing this work on race relations, and really just a really full plate. And I think you've really established yourself as a critical commission within the city, with a lot of trust and responsibility that the council wants to place. I know it's really difficult to do that with 5 members. Fortunately, I believe it was during our council retreat, or maybe it was at another meeting recently where there was a brief discussion on restoring the 7 members. It seemed like there was general support for that. So I'm hoping we can move that forward, because the work you're doing on a volunteer basis with how critical it is, and that speaker on Monday night clearly show that this work is continuing and important. I think we will hopefully have a strong shot at that this year. So I know, so yeah, I think those are my main comments for now. Yeah, and as Minka said earlier, I'll do my best to pop in and out of the meeting. I'll have to drop off at 10:45 for another one, and depending on how the other meetings go, I might pop in and out if that's okay with you, Chair.
We understand it's a busy Saturday, and we understand that people are giving their time. So we're grateful for anybody that attends and participates with us.
Wonderful. And is any questions that I can answer, since I won't be on the call for the most of the time?
I would just like for you to highlight the referral from policy and service to council around the possible work for HRC. I know there were some specific components to it that I think would be good to enlighten our discussion today.
Yeah, I mean, where there seemed to be some focus there in the Policy and Services Committee was including more of a focus on our Asian community, especially with the rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans across the country and regionally as well. There was some concern that we're not providing enough focus on that community. And so I think part of that directive, again, policy and services, all we can do is refer to council itself. So it still needs to go through that discussion. So I don't want to jump ahead here, but I can't envision this not moving forward, given how important it is. So the referral is just gonna be to continue to focus on what you've been doing, but maybe add an additional focus on Asian Americans as well. I wouldn't take it at all as let's not focus on other communities of color within the city. Just let's add Asian Americans as well as, of course, as well as other groups, which I know the HRC continues to do. There would seem to be a feel that we needed to make it more explicit, I guess.
Thank you so much. And I think that's such a relevant point. And we look forward to hear when council takes it up in their direction to us.
Absolutely, and I'll keep you updated.
All right, thank you. HRC, I would like to say that you have been an amazing commission, a phenomenal commission this year. There's a saying that I learned early in ministry that they say, once you prove that you are gifted or you have ability, they keep giving you more and more and more stuff to do. And as you hear what we did last year, then you hear what we have coming this year. And we haven't even talked about the full discussion. Your work speaks for itself because more people in the community and more people in leadership are asking us to tackle difficult topics. So it's because of the work that I'm about to describe that we will be able, that you've done such a phenomenal job, that we'll be able to move forward. Our core responsibilities, Hrc and Cdbd are big lifts. They're a lot of funding, and in this critical time, they were counted on. So we reviewed and made funding recommendations to the council for 16 2-year and 9 1-year human services resource allocation process grants, total $750,000 to fund critical needs in the community for fiscal year 2022 and 23. We not only did our regular round of HRC funding, we did an emergency round, which is unusual for us to go back to that process twice in 1 year, and it was very intensive. Reviewed and made funding recommendations to finance committee for 11 grants totaling $738,000 as part of the Cdbd funding program for fiscal 2022. Can you please hold on, please? A subcommittee of the HRC Commission and city staff served as the review committee for the Emerging Needs Fund. In total, A total of 9 grants for $50,000 was approved the changes to the bylaws of the Palo Alto mediation program. We really focused on the annual HRC work plan priorities. Inclusion and belonging and housing and homelessness was our significant focus for last year. We sent a letter to the council regarding the current patterns of incidents of hate in Palo Alto. We sent a request to Mayor Dubois that he consider becoming a signatory on the Mayor of the United Against Anti-Semitism statement by the American Jewish Committee and the U.S. Conference of Mayors. We made a presentation on hate crimes in Palo Alto by the Palo Alto Police Department. We had a presentation on hate crimes. By the Santa Clara County Chief Assistant District Attorney Jay Borski. We had a presentation by Karen Kinzel, Palo Alto Art Center Director, on the upcoming Art Center exhibits. We held joint study sessions with Public Art Commission to discuss upcoming art addressing racial equality, equity, and potential areas of collaboration. We had the announcement of the artists selected and provided by Commissioner Eberly, who participated in the review process. I really want to highlight that piece where we brought 2 commissions together. We talked, we worked together in our initial meeting, and then we were able to execute on a program and fulfill it. So that's a big deal of cross cooperation, and I really love that the HRC was part of that. Updated the HRC Commission Liaisons Savage and Krause to Palo Alto Police Department about their conversations with PAPD leadership on recent developments in police department, including current crime trends, community outreach, and the policy manual. Presentation by Chair Smith and Commissioner Krause on the information received at the recent FBI hate crime briefing hosted by Representative Anna Asher. Commissioner Savage, thank you so much for that phenomenal article you sent about how community awareness can help in FBI investigations in the future. I think it further solidifies some of the stuff we'll talk about today. And we did this little thing. We created, managed, completed 100 conversation on race initiatives and presented to findings to Policy and Service Committee. And we also, it's not 2021, but it happened in January of this year, but we'll call it. And we presented to council on that in a study session, which was very informative, and the council definitely was very, very supportive of us continuing our work there. Okay, housing and homelessness, presentation on City of Palo Alto housing elements update working group by Tim Wong, the senior planner. Presentation regarding policy development for renter protection measures by Lauren Bigelow, Partnership for Bay's Future Fellow at City of Palo Alto. That was in February. Panel presentation on issues related to housing insecurity in Palo Alto by Project Sentinel, Life Moves, Palo Alto's Renter Association, and local, and that was in February. Presentation on Safe Parking Pilot Program and supporting safe parking programs in Palo Alto by Rachel Tanner, the Assistant Director of Planning. This is a piece I am so proud of. We reviewed and prioritized the Hrc recommendations for council, a series of proposed citywide renter protection presented by Claire Campbell, Manager of Long Range Planning, and Lauren Bigelow, Partnership for the Bay Future Fellow at the City of Palo Alto. And that was a 2-month thing, August and September. And, some of those policies are coming forward, and I'm really proud of the work we did there. And discuss outreach and options for an event regarding affordable housing on faith-based properties by Commissioner Vergeer and Krause. We did a lot. I'm proud of the work we've done. I'm proud of the start we've made, and I'm proud of where we will continue to go. I'd like to open up right now for commissioner comment, then we will do public comment. Commissioners, if you have any comments at this time, please raise your hand. We'll go first with, I saw Commissioner Krause's hand first, and then I will go with Commissioner Savage.
Chair, may I comment on some of the activities in the area of HRC that were done independently? In particular, I'm thinking of the refugee work, which a group of my colleagues outside the commission have gathered together to extract. And hopefully by the end of next week, we will have extracted 5 Afghani men of the LGBTQ communities that were at great risk. And we have them housed in safe houses for extraction, where they're learning their English, they're being able to go to gymnasiums, and they're getting counseling for PTSD. My hope and wish is we can expand that and begin to bring their families with them. So we're currently in discussions with a member of Congress about helping us sustain funding for one of the men's mothers, because it's so important to bring their support systems with them, because conditions in Afghanistan right now are very dreadful. And the country itself is looking at a huge scarcity of food. So that's all I have to say. But if any of the other commissioners would like to be briefed more fully, I welcome them to come forward. And thanks.
Thank you for the phenomenal work. I know we've spoken multiple times about it, and outside of the commission, we are going to support that work. So we're grateful for the work you're doing, because you can't only care about the people in your city. You have to care about the entirety of humanity. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Savage.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to comment on the list of accomplishments. Would you mind repeating that? No, I'm kidding.
I was about to start again. I really was.
No, but it's just, I think we all deserve a collective pat on the back, and especially you as chair. We really did over and above what was expected, I think, and looking forward to the next year.
Oh, thank you so much, Commissioner Savage. Commissioner Recare.
Oh, yes, I just wanted to add some stuff. Thank you. I mean, we have done a lot. I think I also wanted to say that 2 retreats ago, I was doing on climate emergencies and stuff, and I've still been working on that because I didn't feel like I completely fulfilled all the stuff that needs to be worked on. So I've been working with the Palo Alto School District on their sustainability program and with the Zero Waste whole team, and we've been, especially with COVID, I just think that and the direction of the city council on the electrification and all of this. I think that I just want to say that I was continuing on working with different groups on sustainability and for our community. And I think that it's just something that we need to keep on going. So I just want to say that even though during reports, we never really had much of reports, but I continued on with my past liaisons with my retreats obligations. So that's it.
No, thank you so much. Our environment is a highly critical issue during this time of climate change. So thank you. At this time, we'll have public comment on our achievements for the year. Our comment period will be 2 minutes. Do we have anybody from the public staff?
I see one name, Chair. So as when the clerk gets the clock up. Okay, Terry, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to say bravo. I haven't been to one of your retreats nor your meetings, but it's a good way to understand what's going on in our city. That's an amazing group of accomplishments that you all have done. And I don't know how we can get information out of all that you're doing. Because it was a little hard to find the retreat in the city of Palo Alto. I don't know if you put it in the weekly, but I think that more people need to be attending these meetings and understanding that we have a voice in terms of human, relations in our city. But thank you all for all of your fine work.
Thank you, Terry. We have one more speaker. Mark, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Good morning, commissioners and staff. Thank you for your service to our community. And I wanted to briefly point out, it's a little bit of an esoteric, but I noticed that Reverend Coloma in the background, he has a reference to a jazz trope. I believe that is Love Supreme by John Coltrane. In fact, he and I did discuss this ex parte. And what I'm saying is, I hope, in addition to all your accomplishments, that as this excellent, exemplary microcosm of our community moves forward, that we indeed use the arts, especially jazz music, and perhaps especially jazz music by Black composers like Coltrane, Monk, Mingus, Mary Lou Williams. I want to note, as you probably maybe already know, that 2 of the commissioners have sons who are jazz musicians. I'm really pleased when I logged on this morning to realize, although I've not been to this particular commission, I've spoken to the commission before. I was actually a candidate once for one of those seats. I think I know all 5 of you from various ways. So this is an exemplary group. I am very proud as a Palo Altan and very relieved that we have such excellent representatives who are representative of us and responsive to us. And unfortunately, I am disappointed to say that most of leadership is not as representative and as responsive as this group is. I'm a little bit disappointed with council. So thank you for meeting today, and thank you for your work on behalf of the community. And a love supreme, a love supreme.
Thank you, Mark.
There
are no more speakers.
He is right. That is a love supreme behind me. It is one of my favorite albums of all time. So if you haven't heard it, go listen. It's so good. It's so good. All right. What's next on the agenda?
We have overview of core responsibilities, liaisons, and buddies chair.
Okay. I would like to take this time to say our vice chair has hopped all the way in her responsibilities as a vice chair. I think she's been on more meetings with us in the last 4 weeks than she anticipated. But we are grateful for Vice Chair Everly, and she will be leading this part of our discussion.
Thank you so much. You're very kind as always. I don't know if I've been in that many meetings, but I appreciate the ability to be in them and be included. So I wanted to go over the core responsibilities before we discuss and then figure out who's going to do what. And I know that most of you know what Hrc stands for, but I'm going to go ahead and just, say it for whoever's watching. So a couple of the responsibilities are being members of subcommittees. One of them is for the Human Services Resource Allocation Process, the Hrc grant. And as Reverend Smith mentioned, this is not a year where we're choosing the recipients of the grant. However, we are going to need somebody to review the application process before the next round of funding, which will be in 2023. So we can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we'll choose somebody to do that this year. And then next year, we'll choose another person who will actually participate in the subcommittee to pick the agencies that will get the funding or pick the allocation.
Vice Chair, you are correct. We are looking for up to 2 commissioners who want to work with staff on a reviewing of the process and a process in which we will interface and listen to nonprofits or grantees in the community for any suggestions they have about the application and the process before we go into it for next year. So that is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Minka. The next one is the Community Development Block Grant, the Cdbd funding. And again, this is participating in a committee to review the applications and allocate the resources for funding. And this one is federal funding, and it is happening this year, correct?
It is unlike HISRAP, it is 2-year, but there is work to be done in the mid-year. So we are looking for up to 2 commissioners who can work with the planning department in the next 3 weeks to look at these applications and make some recommendations for the March meeting. But it is a much abridged process than in the full year. So this is a much smaller commitment.
And it's about 3 to 5 hours is what
I
you
believe
expect,
that's
right?
what it should be, right? And again, with 2 folks that could have some time this month to be able to help that planning department once your name's on Monday. So
Thank you. The next one is the Emerging Needs Fund, and that's quarterly funding. Also for not-for-profits serving Palo Alto residents, and this is for emergency, critical, and emerging needs. And again, you'd be part of, and are we looking for 2 people as well? Or?
yes, all of our
the
subcommittees are 2 people. So for this, we are looking for 2 people as well who serve on a committee with another staff member from our department that reviews it.
Okay, so that's 3 different grants for 2 people on each. And the next one is the liaisons. And I know that the commissioners are acquainted with that. So there are several organizations where we liaison with. One of them is the Palo Alto Police Department. One is Avenidas. Another one is the Palo Alto Mediation Program. And I will say that I've started working with them based on last year. And we're in the middle of coming out, like figuring out how we're going to recruit mediators for that program. So I am involved in it right now. And the other
I
one
would say that you just started
I just started
6
yes.
weeks ago because they reconnected with us and said, who's our representative? So
correct. And then the last one is Project Safety Net, which addresses concerns about mental health challenges facing the youth in the community. And then our last responsibility are the council buddies. And apparently in the past, the chair and the mayor were buddies, and the vice chair and the vice mayor were buddies. So we need to talk about if that's something that we want to continue. And then we need to select buddies for everybody else on the commission. And by my counting, it looks like maybe one person will end up with 2 council buddies. Otherwise, we don't have enough. So that's about it for core responsibilities. And these things need to be done during our discussion process. So maybe everybody can start thinking about what they're interested in and what their schedules look like and what they have availability for. And let me ask Minka this, for the liaisons, are we also looking for 2 people for each? No, just one person.
It's not that it can't be more than one person, like historically at times, like some of them lend themselves to more than one person. So in the past, we've had more than one person who has been a liaison to PD, but most of the times these have been solo ventures.
I do want us to also think about, and I don't know historically because I'm new to the commission, who's been liaison to what, community organization, whether we want to shake things up and bring different viewpoints to those liaison positions. I guess I'll take questions or comments. Commissioner Regier, I think you were the first one.
Thank you. I just had a question about the liaison, and this is mostly directed to staff, to Minka. I remember when we came on, we had at least 20 liaisons, and then also I mean not liaisons, but organizations. I mean, I was on quite a few, and then Avanitas wasn't on last retreat. We only had. I'm just wondering who decides what organizations. How was that decreased, and how do we get more organizations on this list like we used to?
I would say that it's never been at the level of 20. When I looked at ones that were taken off, because I'm the one who updated the list, there were maybe one or two more. One was like the age-friendly committee, which I was leading, and that was something just that I haven't called together yet. And there was never 20. If there was 5 or 6, there have been discussions about adding new liaison relationships. These have primarily been organizations that we have had long-standing relationships with, or organizations that represent key constituency. So that's why you will see Avanitas there. And when the issue of youth suicide was really at the forefront, and Project Safety Net came into being, why Project Safety Net was added. I would say that it is really looking at those. Sometimes they have been connected to key areas of focus that the HRC wants to dig into. I will say that given the number of 5 commissioners, I would just have the caution the HRC in thinking of adding more liaison relationships when it's most likely possible that you will have a very full workload. But historically, it's been with key constituent organizations, or organizations we've had a long history with, or the HRC started in the speaking of Palo Alto mediation program. So that's really been the process in the past.
So I guess my question is then, what was the organizations that we all signed up for at the retreat, our last retreat in Mitchell Park, when Kara and the senior group in San Jose that we worked with, and wasn't Meals on Wheels, but I mean, they were like,
oh, what you did
what was that? What was that group called?
No, I think that's when you did when you did the site visits for the HISREP grantees. So they're like 16 HISREP grantees, and you signed up to go visit them.
Okay, because it's like 2 years. I just remember we were.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you go visit. There's 16 of them, and then you go in singles or pairs, and you go to visit the HISREP grantees. Theoretically, that's what we should. Oh my, there's another thing I didn't think about. This year will be the HISREP visiting time again. That's a huge.
That's a big. That's what I was thinking.
Thank you for reminding.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think when we talk about core responsibilities, and particularly rewriting the HISREP, talking about how we do the HISREP funding process, and meeting with the current grantees and past grantees and wannabe grantees, I think we should encompass it in that process or in that framework.
Yeah, no, I just remembered we doing all of that. And and the other thing is, during this time, can we discuss putting more liaisons, connections besides, because I saw that we added Avanitas this year, and I had added Project Safety Net.
Right. Avanitas and Project Safety Net have been on for at least 3 to 4 years.
Right. No, I know, but it wasn't on last. Anyway, I was just wondering if we could add another one if we want, if we can discuss that during this time period.
This is discussion time. You can definitely put it to the floor. And after that, I'd like to, I know Commissioner Krause has been patiently waiting. So if you could tell us which one you'd like to add, that'd be great. And then we can, when we get to the final action item, we can figure out what to do.
Well, it was more of a discussion. I just wanted to ask if we could add. We could do it during that time. After we pick, maybe after the work plan kind of thing, it would be good to kind of think of like, how would liaisons to different organizations help? That's.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Krause. Thank you. You're muted. You're muted. Still muted. Okay.
It wasn't going off. It's keeping me very safe and quiet. In any event, Minka, is the emergency categorization that Commissioner Everly spoke about, is that what Daryl, Commissioner Savage, and I worked on this year?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Fine.
You helped
Fine.
with the last quarter of that, correct?
Okay. And is there more work than what we were presented with?
Only if there are more grantees, so applicants. So last time you had 2 applicants. I mean, I think the most applicants at one time, I think we got 9, but that's when we were really reaching out to people. And that was like
Okay.
in April of COVID when we were, we had a lot of applicants. But in all honesty, and I think 3 to 4 is,
Okay.
usually what we get. The first quarter of this year, we got none. So
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Because it wasn't an extensive commitment.
No,
It
that
was-
is the least commitment of the 3.
Thank you.
Do we have any other commissioner comments? All right. We'll do 2 minutes for public comments.
To members of the public, does anybody want to give comment on the overview of core responsibilities, liaisons, or buddies? I see 1 hand, Chair. So if the clerk can get the, thank you so much. So Aram, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead, please. Aram?
Yeah, I thought I had negotiated 2.5 minutes with the chair.
Staff, can you pause the timer? We'll make a simple announcement. We are doing 2 minutes on this item on the work plan, on the work plan, and public comment, we gave 5 minutes.
Yeah, so there, just to clarify, yeah, 5 minutes for oral communications and for comments on the work plan, 2 minutes on the items number 1 and 2. So
Will
Mr.
that 5 minutes stand for the rest of the year? Is that a new, moving forward, is that going to be the amount of time for oral
No.
communication? Okay.
The reason we did it and we gave 5 minutes is because we're talking about a year worth of plans. So we wanted to give the public time to comment.
All right.
So-
Okay.
So go ahead, please.
So, one of my senses is, and I've talked about this at City Council when you had your joint session, is I found it extremely troubling that the HRC does great stuff, but it seems like you're a closed club now, and that the amount of public participation has gone down drastically over the 20 years I've attended these meetings, and it's at an all-time low. And I would like to see you all reached out to the community and see why people aren't attending these meetings. It's just critical to have public participation in all commissions, the Human Relations Commission. I'd like you to focus on making certain that we have more Black police officers in Palo Alto, that we have an open and transparent effort to hire a new police chief to replace the worst officer in the history of the city, as far as I'm concerned. And I've lived here a good portion of, or most of my 73 years. I'd like to make sure that this Human Relations Commission assists the public and the press to get the radio traffic that the police are now encrypting unencrypted. That's a very fundamental part of a democracy. I wish you would pursue the canine issue to find out what the race of the victims are, rather than being silent on that. I would like you to take a stand in support of the Palestinian people this year, an end of military aid from the United States to Israel, and also take a stand against the expansion of the settlements there. I would like very much for you to have a debate between the district attorney candidates here locally. That would be Jeff Rosen, Sanjid Khan, and Daniel Chung. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Mr. James, just to let you know, and the other callers, this is public comment for overview of core responsibilities, liaisons, and buddies. The next item will be public comment on work plan items for next year, and you will have 5 minutes to talk during that time. So if the other two speakers want to speak to agenda item number 2, I will call on you now. So, Mr. Weiss, you have 2 minutes on this agenda item. Go ahead, please.
Good morning again, commissioners and staff, and I thank you for your service. Shabbat Shalom. I think I'm on topic, and I'll stay for the next round as well, since I'm here. And that's my wife, by the way, Terry Acebo Davis, who is a former chair of the Public Art Commission. So I want to say, I think it's on topic. What about reaching out to former human relations commissioners? Now, I've only been as engaged for about 12 years, and but I read in the paper something about the gentrification of Ventura, which is a historically Black neighborhood by many of our reckonings. And it was in the paper because, as you know, if you excuse the digression a little bit, a developer sold to another developer a large plot of land, and then they started secretly buying back, especially from families of color, adjoining properties. And the one holdout was interviewed by the Weekly. Her name is Lakiba Pittman. I don't know her personally, other than I rang doorbells looking for her. But my understanding is she is the former chair, as circa 2000. And I want to say, maybe that's an interesting thing to try to get some of the elders and the old hands to chime in on what is the current state of self-governance and participation, and what George Packer would call the unwinding. It's a book, George Packer. He's from Palo Alto. And when staff was trying to renovate the handbook for commissioners, they pulled former commissioners. And I pointed out, you also have a database of people who have applied for commissions, like myself, and was never appointed. But I got 2 votes when I applied for this commission, but never 5. Anyhow, and I got 0 votes 7 other times. But I'm saying, call on people like Ms. Pittman, call on people like myself who are aspiring to leadership and are merely dissent. And you're doing a good job, though. It's not your fault if people are not listening. You're doing a great job. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. We have one more name. Hold on just 1 minute. Terry, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Hello again. So to talk about the other end of the age spectrum, reaching out to elders in the community, especially those of diverse backgrounds. But recently I've been asked by a group of young gun students, young women who are very concerned about Asian identity. And, they have known some of these, one particular youth member of Gun High School that recently committed suicide, and very popular person of Asian background. I don't believe that the suicide problem is going away, especially when kids are going back and forth with the COVID, and they're lucky to have friends, some of them. But I think in terms of liaisons and Project Safety Net, have you thought about having youth representation on your committee? Because they have a lot to say, and I've been so impressed with these young women that have their thoughts about the world. And we've had gotten together at my art studio, gotten together twice. Last time was in my living room. We went to dinner together, and they have a lot to say. And I was just so impressed with them. They haven't been in, one of them already belongs to the League of Women Voters and has helped with campaigning. But I think that we need to have youth involved with this, with the Human Relations Committee as well. So that's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. There are no more hands, Chair.
Thank you, public, for your comment. Thank you, commissioners, for your comment. Thank you, Commissioner Regier. You definitely brought up something that was critical with the his rap visits. So we will have to talk about that in our plan. And next agenda item is the actual work plan. I'm going to actually work this two ways. I'm going to open up for, and we'll give, is it break or work plan?
It's break, so you can do the break now. You can do the public comment and the break. It's up to you, Chair.
Commissioners, all right, do you want to take a quick break? Come back. Let's not make it a full 15. Come back at 11. Hear public comment, then open our discussion. And Minka, I want to keep them as two separate items so the public can comment, and then after we have our discussion, have another public comment period. But so that we'll keep them as two separate agenda items. Follow me?
So you want to have public comment and then
We'll make that.
Hrc comment and then public comment again?
Yes, because we will talk and there's
Okay.
things public doesn't know. So we want them to actually say something about the stuff they don't know about. You
Okay,
follow what I'm saying?
I hear you, sir.
Yes, Commissioner McCare. You're muted.
Do we have anybody, before we take a break, is there any, I would hate to have people waiting for 15, just waiting for us. Is there anybody waiting for public comment right now before we, so we could, I don't mind not having a break if there's people waiting.
There are no hands raised at this point, so.
But I'm going to make it 10. Let's come back at 11 since we're ahead of schedule. We've covered a lot of ground. Do you guys mind that?
So come back at 11.
Come back at 11. Yeah.
Okay, I will want people to know to please take yourself off camera and please mute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now we get to the heart of the matter. You know, we just went sort of through the trailers in the in the preview section, and you know, all very important pieces. But now we get to the heart of the matter. Right now, I want to open the floor to community to give us feedback, and so that everybody understands what I'm doing with public comment today in my two separate items. The first round of public comment is going to be the public giving us what they think, like with none of our discussion points, us not talking, none of our feedback. We will go through our deliberative and discussion process. And then I will give at some point in the middle of that public another chance, because they might hear something that tickles their fancy or hits them in a different way. It's a little bit different, but in order to encourage participation and get clarity, we want to do it that way. So staff, I turn it to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I was unmuted. We have two hands up at this time. We'll start with Mr. James. Go ahead, please. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I want to thank my good friend Mark Weiss for essentially waking me up. I had overslept and I didn't intend to miss the retreat, those portions that I missed. Also, Mark is aware, I don't know if you are, but at Monday City Council session, I went through up until about 9 o'clock at night and spoke several times, but there was one more action item that I missed. And after Rebecca Eisenberg spoke on that last item, somebody identifying themselves as city council member came on and starting spewing comments that there were too many N's in Palo Alto. There's too many N's in Palo Alto, too many, and then called her the B word. You effing bitch, B word, excuse me for saying the word, to Rebecca Eisenberg. And then it was that person was cut off, but I don't think it was fully explored. The next night at the City and Policies Matters, I raised that issue, and there was a comment by Councilmember Greer Stone about what an ugly situation it was, and there has, I don't believe, been a formal apology to Rebecca. I don't think it's to blame anybody in leadership for somebody else's statement, but it would be appropriate if the city apologized to her. I think she was well, way taken aback. She also interpreted it possibly as anti-Semitic. So, that's a problem with me. For core policies coming up, all the other thing at the city and policies matter that there was on that agenda was apparently coming up in a year or so, there's going to be a national project with high school students pursuing a fictional lawsuit for reparations. And I made the comment, well, how about let's not make it fictional in Palo Alto. Let's take the HRC and the city council and other commissions and really explore what we can do in Palo Alto to bring discussion around and potentially implement reparations in the city of Palo Alto, including as an alternative to Castellea, ask them to take their money and move to a larger site. And as a matter of part of our responsibility as reparation, I suggested that Castelleo become the Sojourner Truth Frederick Douglass Center for Black Studies and Research. That would be make us a real national leader. So that's something I'd like to see on our agenda at the HRC and something for discussion. Also, I'd like to go, great 100 conversations that you all did. And I think that was really important. Now I'd like to step beyond that into stuff like reparations and also hiring a non-racist, and a transparent police chief, someone who is going to make show the political will, because speaker after speaker, my friend Reverend Jethro Moore spoke about a month ago at the Henrietta's show on racial justice about what he did in San Jose along with other leaders to recruit Blacks to the San Jose Police Department. Just no political will in the Palo Alto, and I think we have to discuss that, and you all have to take a leadership role would be my request. Similarly, every year we seem to have a battery of police officers that come on and police leadership to speak, but we've never had a day for police victims to come on to the HRC. Somebody like a Julio Arevalo or a Gustavo Alvarez or a Joel Leo or other people that have been the victims of police brutality and violence, so we don't put that under the carpet. So those are really, really important issues. And then as part of the new police chief, we've got to bring back encryption so the public and the press can monitor the police. I spoke to one journalist lately and he says, that was no doubt a direct reaction to police being angry about the outcry across the country nearly 2 years ago about the killing of George Floyd. Whether that's true or not, we need to explore it. We need to continue to explore what we're doing with the canine unit in the city of Palo Alto. Do we need deadly tasers? I would love to see that put on the city council agenda and discussed with you. I was on Henrietta's show. We both reminded each other when I was also on the show in December that we'd done a discussion about deadly tasers 14 years before in 2007. So it's time for us to bring those issues to the fore. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. James. Our next speaker is Mark Weiss. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, and thank you for letting me speak again. And I have two items, and they're ironically linked to each other. The first thing is I want to dedicate my participation in today's meeting to a recently deceased City of Palo Alto staff person. Her name was Noah Tuifua, Noatuifua. And Noah, I just found out this week when I tried to enter City Hall to see the city manager, and I realized I still couldn't get up there, but the person at the front desk spoke to me, and I asked about Noah, and they told me Noah had passed. And Noah was someone that I met, because I go in, I hang out at the lobby at 250 Hamilton, and I go to a lot of meetings, and I've met a lot of staff people. I've known Minka for a number of years as well, of course. And Noah, in addition to working for the city, she actually moonlighted as a caregiver, if you excuse the personal digression, but she had actually helped my mother when my mother had professional caregivers. She was a substitute for a service agency based in Palo Alto. And she would always inquire subsequently, how's your mother? How's your mother? And then eventually my mother passed in 2018, Barbara Weiss. Last time I saw Miss Tuafua, she was wearing a jersey for the Tonga national rugby team. It was the week of a rugby championship. And there's another staff person, Diana Tamale, from the same part of the world. And in fact, so Miss Tamale told me that they are raising money in Noah's memory to forward on to Tonga, which has, you probably know, experienced hardship due to a recent tsunami. So I just want to suggest, in addition to our work in the community and our work worldwide, and Ms. Krause mentioned Afghanistan, that there's also a Palo Alto raising money still for Tohoku in Japan, recovering from a March 2011 tsunami. So, the reason I was in City Hall, as Mr. James had said, I was trying to get an answer to a question that was puzzling me and bothering me about what happened Monday when when a caller attacked a fellow citizen, and whether leadership, should apologize and say, we the people understand that a community member was attacked by somebody who called in who may or may not have been a community member. And, I as mayor, or I as a commissioner, or I as a city council member wanted to say, I feel you. And it was such a complicated and vile thing that this caller, as Mr. James said, attacked, a particular ethnic group using the worst word you could use that we never use, and then rolled it into a personal attack on the previous caller. And whether he actually knew who she was or not, or how many times she called in or not, or what her ethnicity is, or whatever, she took it very personally. And I believe that if I were a leader in Palo Alto, I would say immediately, I don't stand for what just happened. I'll speak out of turn. We don't say like that here. We don't attack each other like that. And there's a big difference between dissent and telling a leader that he or she could do a better job. And in fact, it's protected. Sullivan versus New York Times, very specific. You can say a lot of things about public figures and leaders to try to get them to do a slightly better job. But that's different than turning on someone and calling them, referencing their ethnicity, referencing their creed, referencing their place of origin in a pejorative way, in a mean way. And so I do believe that at the next formal meeting of any of these people, they should say, hey, I'm still thinking about what happened Monday, and I apologize to Rebecca Eisenberg that on my watch and my meeting, this just happened. So that is one of the reasons I'm here today. And I have discussed this with Reverend Smith, and I appreciate his ex parte leadership to me personally on how to deal with this. And yes, I'm speaking for a third party. And she said, well, I'm with my family today, and she's not here, but she owes you one. I'm sure Ms. Eisenberg will chime in where appropriate at your next meeting. And, whatever current leadership does in this, we can do better. We can do better. And like I said, this is an exemplary group of 5 individuals working together, and I'd love to be a resource and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more speaker. Terry, go ahead, please. You have 5 minutes.
I have 2 points. I took some notes this time. I just want to let you know that I'm upstairs and Mark is downstairs. So we're using different computers because we don't always see eye to eye. One of the things that Mark did not say is that Rebecca is a woman. And I think as a woman, we are more subject to the fear of hate. And I just want, from a feminist perspective, that's vitally important as part of that issue. So back to my other 2 things I wanted to talk about is the other day I was at my storage area and I was putting away a lot of documents. And this gentleman that was next to me, an elder, said to me, do you know a good lawyer? And I said, why do you ask, sir? He goes, well, are you a lawyer? And I said, why do you say that? And he saw me with just boxes of documents. So I said, well, so he talked to me about the fact that his wife has dementia and his son is deaf. And he is having problems getting legal advice and had approached 3 different lawyers. To me, that is another form of discrimination discrimination. And granted, the man was Caucasian, but still he was feeling that. And I did not know, was wondering if human relations has a way can we outreach to you all to help someone like this in the community? He was a Palo Alto. So that's my first question about something else that I was wondering whether your committee can help with. My second question is, you know, I'm also a retired nurse, and I'm very concerned, and I'm happy that Santa Clara is still making us wear masks. And I will continue to wear masks for a while because I am concerned about COVID and other variations. Mark and I I was sick through most of January and quarantined myself. I did not have COVID, but I could see how I was more open to getting illness. I believe that once we lift this and there are people still wearing masks, that people will start calling people out on why are you wearing a mask? And I think there's going to be other forms of discrimination that happen out there. Personally, I've been the person checking masks when my husband has his concerts at Mitchell Park. And I have not had any problem with people showing me their COVID card and showing me their identification, and people have been very kind. But I think that once that gets lifted, that people might question the fact that that there are people that choose to wear masks. And if you're a person of color wearing a mask, you know, I think that there can be other kinds of things that people might saying, well, are you hiding your identity, or, you know, what's going on back there? But I worry about that whole COVID problem and whether that's ever come up with your Human Relations Commission, because there are a lot of people that, you know, are not getting vaccinated. A lot of those people are getting information out there that to me is not right. I mean, I go by the science, but should we discriminate towards those people as well? But COVID was not discussed at all, and that's been a huge factor in how we engage right now or not engage in the community. So I'm hoping you address that at some level. Those are my 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Terry, you on your first point, there's a community organization called SALA that can help with the legal issues. You can also reach out to Minka. You can find her information on the city website, and she can help with that legal challenge. All right. Commissioners, we get to the point where we sort of put all the cards on the table and we start discussing what we do with limited commissioners and limited time during a year. What I'm going to bring forward are some things that are staff and city specific. One we have to do, the others are going to be a little bit different. Then yes.
At what point, staff, would you like the clerk's office to bring up a blank piece of paper? Just let them know when you're at that point, sir.
We can do that now. When I get to, and then I'll have each commissioner give some of their personal ideas. I want about 3 to 4 from each commissioner areas we can look at. And after each commissioner does that, I will do mine, and then we can start breaking into a more intense discussion about it. So let us go through this. The things we have to do. I think Hrc, both the visits and the review of the process is absolutely critical. Hrc is a significant part of what we do and how we have a direct impact on the people in our community. We've heard from some in the nonprofit space that they think there are some challenges in the process. So we would love to sit and have a discussion with procurement or purchasing and really dive deep. We'd also want to look at the possibility of recommending to council a needs assessment for his RRAP. We wouldn't be able to do the needs assessment. We want council to put funds aside to do a needs assessment. It probably won't hit the next cycle, but they'll hit the following cycle of his RRAP. So that's the first thing. And the reason I'm highlighting his RRAP is because it's threefold very different than sitting in the office with the binder and reviewing stuff and having a call. There is some visitation, there's some review of process, there's some strategic thinking. So it is more than a notion. It's a more intense process. After speaking with the city manager, he would like to come to our meeting on, Minka, I'm gonna mess up the date. Say the date again for me.
March 10th.
March 10th, thank you. And that is a session we want to do the public comment with the police chief hiring and the city manager. We also, in discussion with the vice chair, she came up with a phenomenal suggestion to say, bring in somebody from a third party who can give us a perspective on what does a really progressive police chief look like. You know, we have our local issues, but sometimes getting advice from those that are expert, that are not part of systems, is a really good thing. So we have one or two people we're thinking about that on that same evening. So just bring your cookies, because that's going to be a long night. We're going to go through our Cdbd funding. So the Cdbd will be presenting. So that will be all we'll do with Cdbd this year, but it's going to come up quickly and it's significant. We've spoken to those in city leadership. This year, there will be diversity training by a third party for all commissions. And it's commissions and council is just commission.
Vin might be able to say, I know it's commission. I think at some point it will be council, but I can only speak to commission. Vin, do you know something different?
I think it'll be likely to be extended to council as well.
So this is unprecedented. And a lot of the work that we sparked with staff has driven this process. So they will be doing diversity training with city council and all commissions. You'll have to take the diversity training. But HRC has been asked to partner in this. We still have to work through the fine points, but it will be some event where we will work with commissions and say, how do you take this diversity training and actually apply it to the areas that you're working in? Because it's one thing to have the theory, it's another thing to have the practical. We are going to have to dive deeper, I believe, into our diversity work, because the referral from policy and services you heard from Councilmember Stone, and it will focus on the Asian American community. I think I've been on this commission for 5 years. Our city is 34% Asian, and I think we've had 2 discussions that were very specific to those bodies. So that will be, so I think even if we don't get the referral, it's a missed opportunity, because when we talk about community, we have to talk about the lived experience of those here, and we have to go from there. And then we will again partner with the Art Commission. So that will be 1 meeting, and then there'll be some follow through there. On top of that, we have everything Commissioner Eberly described earlier. Staff, have I missed anything?
I am looking at my notes. I think Commissioner Vice Chair Eberly will bring up the learning series. Is that correct, Vice Chair? So I won't speak to that now. The other thing, I will just put HISRAP site visits. And as you see, I am doing the screen instead of Vin because it makes more sense because I'm familiar with your items. So these are items that are referred from staff, and staff includes myself, other departments, or the city manager's office. So these are items. The DEI training is really, it's just for something HRC to attend. You don't have to do anything about that. The city manager's office is planning that, but the next item is something that has been referred to
HRC.
The HRC, and I'll just put CDBG. I'll just call it mid-year review.
So these are items that are all valuable. What I'm going to do now is as commissioners, and this is now commissioner input, and we'll do the alphabet. So we'll start. Well, do you have a question, Commissioner Kraus?
Yes, unfortunately, I cannot read that screen.
Is it better now?
So it's better, but it could be a little better, even a little more there.
Is that good?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it.
I just couldn't read it.
No, I have it on my screen, so I hear you that it's deceptively big on my own screen. So thank you for letting me know.
The one thing I would like to do, Minka, before we go to commissioners, is can we do the 2 active items from last year? There's the community and belonging piece and housing. And we'll make that a separate item.
I'll just put.
All right. I'm going to ask commissioners if you have anything that you would like to add to the discussion, that you would add it now, and then we'll start working through the process of figuring out what we can pile together, what makes sense, and we will bring up a work plan so that we can start talking about what to fill in and where to fill it in. All right, Vice Chair Eberly.
First of all, do we need to put in all of the roles that we're trying to fill on the paper now?
No,
because I see some, but not all.
I think we would, let's leave the buddies and the relationships off for now. These are just actual work plan items.
These are items. These are just action items. So, so we're asking each person to provide, three things that they feel really passionate about, and we'll see how we can get some congruence on this, understanding that we're already overwhelmed. But go ahead, Vice Chair.
Okay, so one item that I'd like to bring up, which has been alluded to, is community safe. The way that I would put it, I guess, would be community safety and justice, and the hiring or any kind of input towards the hiring of the new police chief. And actually, the 5 police officers as well, if we could have any input, would be under that umbrella. Okay. And what I'd like to see, which sounds like maybe is already in motion, is hear from the public. And I do think that we need to advertise it, because that would be an excellent opportunity to hear from everybody, from the community, about what they're looking for on a new police chief. So my concern is, I know that a lot of people in the community are feeling unsafe, be it because there's at least a lot of stories on the news about the uptick in crime in the city of Palo Alto, and hate crime as well. So it would be great to have an opportunity to hear from everybody, and then talk about best practices in police hiring and what it looks like to have a police chief and a police force that protects everyone in a way where their dignity, humanity, and their freedom are respected and protected, and nobody is, being singled out or discriminated. And that's why I had brought up the idea of also having an outsider come in and speak to us about what those best practices are. I'm not an expert. I don't know what I know what the bad practices are from reading thousands and thousands of police reports. I know what's out there. Mm-hmm. And I just want to make sure that everybody in the community feels heard. Mm-hmm. And then we get, more information, so that we make an educated recommendation. And again, I'm not positive on, how do I say this, how much power we have, but I do believe that the council wants to work with us on this item. And the way that I would make it would be making community safety and justice one of the priorities for the work plan. Another item that I think should be is the continuing inclusion and belonging. And I feel like these are such huge umbrella items. So I'm only going to suggest 2 items. So community safety and justice, and community inclusion and belonging, because I believe that those items can have so many different things underneath them. So, and it sounds like we might be able to work with the council on the inclusion and belonging work, and including more of a focus on the Asian American Pacific Islander community members of Palo Alto. And one way that we could continue on the path of exploring inclusion and belonging in Palo Alto is, and Minka, you did come up with the idea, so I'll give you credit, but a learning series, which apparently has been done in the past. And that can be with the public, or it could be part of our meetings where we have outside speakers come in and talk to us on a topic. And I look forward to hearing from the other commissioners, what they think. One of the topics, for example, that I think would be great, and I just thought of this, would be microaggressions and unconscious bias. And I feel that there's a lot of that goes on everywhere, and people don't realize it. And it would be great to, I think it would be great to educate the public on what that looks like. So getting an expert to come talk to us, or having a panel discussion about it, I think could be great. And I think we could come up with other topics that would go under the umbrella of inclusion and belonging, but different topics. Also, it was great to hear from Ms. Davis about what she foresees as the possible mask and unmask,
Mhm.
what do you call it? I mean, possible confrontations, I guess, possible discrimination in the community.
Social friction.
Yeah, social friction. There you go. So I'd love for us to start thinking about what the next year is going to look like in Palo Alto and how we can help the community in kind of overcoming what looks like it is moving from a pandemic into an endemic. I would love for the AHRC to think about what is going to come up and think of ways of help that. Yeah, so that there is less friction and people are respected. And again, that could go underneath either safety and justice and inclusion and belonging, because there's, I guess, unfortunately bound to be some discrimination and maybe some harassment, because I think what's going to happen when there's no more mask mandate is that the businesses will be able to either require masks or not. So it would be great for us to support small business owners in whatever way that they want to deal with that. So those are just some of the things that I think should be in the work plan. And I'm looking forward to hear what everybody else has to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. Commissioner Kraus. You have to, Commissioner Kraus, please unmute yourself.
Hi, sorry. There are two items I'd like to add, and they overlap on Commissioner Everly, and they overlap on the words of the public, Terry in particular, and they overlap on Councilman Greerstone's comments. One is public health. I think we should have a directive to engage in public health.
You froze, Commissioner.
Commissioner Everly brought up,
Commissioner
and
Kraus.
our former
Commissioner Kraus.
nurse for many, many, many years. Yeah.
Can you please
Sorry?
repeat? Can you please repeat that? You froze for a second. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure we get you clearly.
Oh, a directive to engage in public health, period. We're very fortunate that we have a public health officer that we do have in Santa Clara County. She is prudent, she is careful, and she does not bend to politics. Sarah Cody is a Palo Altoan, by the way, and
I didn't know that.
Oh yes, she's right here. She's had tremendous pushback for the strictness of her guidelines, but she's taken very good care of this city and this county that reported the first case in the United States. So I think that we would be remiss if we're not doing that work as part of the city. The other, I might want to frame some of the things that you said, Commissioner Everly and Councilman Stone, and just have an agenda item against hate crimes, period, whether they be Asian, whether they be Black, whether they be Jewish, religious, people who wear turbans, people who wear masks. We need to have an agenda, like an umbrella, that we stand for a town that is free of hate speech. and we don't encourage it, and we don't in any way, shape, or form condone it. So those are the two things that I see missing here. Thank you.
Commissioner Regier.
I somewhat agree. I'm trying to figure out our work plan. Are we supposed to be addressing how to do things? For example, because I thought it was just a work plan, and then we'll discuss later on the logistics of what we're going to do.
For what we've gotten so far, my piece had a lot of action items because there were directives and requests from city and staff. This piece, and I will also add into this, will be more 50,000-foot view issues, things that we're hearing in community that we want to address.
Okay, so I don't want to get into specifics how we'll be into inclusion and or I mean I agree with Commissioner Krause and Eberly, but I don't want to go into specifics of how we're going to do them. I think transparency is very important. That's what I've been hearing from the community, transparency, and that regards even our responsibility of being liaisons to the police department and to other things. We need to be more transparency. I think that part of the direction from the city is what their work plan was about electrification and so I'd like to put back on, and how does that affect human relations in regards to climate emergency and electrification. I think we as a group can help the city and our community on that. And there's many ways to get involved. I think inclusion and hate crime also should be part of equity, because we have quite a few people in regards to just being poor in Palo Alto and the equity that, and I think not that it's hate crimes it's against them, but I think inclusion is for example, we could work with the Park and Rec department on something, because long time ago, programs were based on financial too. And I've heard that a lot of the programs in the rec department are not inclusive in regards to financial ability to people to pay for them. And we used to have a sliding scale. So I think equity issues in regards to disabilities, I think we should be able to work on that. And that goes back to 2 retreats ago about reaching out a pool. I think, and putting it back into having our city be more responsible and to welcome people with special needs.
Thank you so much.
And I also think as a group, I would like to see part of our work plan to be more in our own meetings. I feel that it's not really a commission. We really don't discuss things. It's just kind of put on, out of efficiency. And I would like to have more discussions about plans and stuff, because when, for example, the hate crimes, when it was directed from the city council, it was brought up by Lydia too that we should be included when they were directing us for Asian, and it was voted down. And I, at that point, thought we still should include the Asian and other, it shouldn't just be our directive, Black and brown. And I think that we should think about looking ahead and not just what the staff directs us to do, but think as a commission, we are also part of the community, and we're supposed to be representing other communities and be a leader helping them understand too, because I was quite disappointed that we didn't include the Asian in the hate crime studies that we did.
Anything else?
And back to the police, I think we'll get into specifics, but on that one, but I don't think that this is back to concrete examples. I don't think that we're not a series of, I wouldn't feel comfortable having a series of discussions of learning series. We're not a speaker bureau. And I would rather have some kind of communications within everyone. And anyway, but that could go down to, and I guess my point is that after we take this work plan, I would appreciate it if the whole commission was part of how to get these inclusions, not just certain people that are connected to that group. I think that as a commission, we're not two people addressing one issue and then nobody else has to say on how the rest is discussed.
Okay.
And that goes with police or with mental health or inclusion. I think that we do have our role, but I think that we're a commission and we should all decide how we go forward on our work plan. Not just the two people that are assigned to each one on the subcommittee. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Savage.
But I want to see if it's how commissioners work on more items. I don't mean work on more items. I say be included in the decision making. I don't think we should be working on. That's not. I'm just in an action item. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Regier. Commissioner Savage.
All of my ideas have already been touched upon by other commissioners. I might have phrased them a little differently, but pretty much they're all there. And what we have is fairly comprehensive. One thing, I do have a question for Vice Chair Eberly. When you're talking about the Safety and Justice Committee, are you considering having a separate event to do this, or that's something we're just going to get to later?
I don't think we're just at ideas. We haven't fleshed anything out. I think that's more of a discussion point if we adopt it.
Right. And just one more thing I want to add, just that when we talk about hate crimes against Asians, Blacks, etc., let's not forget the Hispanic community. I haven't heard that mentioned, but you know, the Hispanics also live in Palo Alto and have their share of hate crimes.
Thank you so much.
Can I just go back? I'm sorry, but I think that was Michelle's point, is that everyone it shouldn't be just directed. We shouldn't, I guess that's my point, is that hate crimes, we shouldn't say, well, let's not forget the Tongans. I mean, I just think we should put everybody in. Is when a hate crime happens, it happens, and we shouldn't be specific on.
I agree. And gender, socioeconomic, anything, basically any kind of hate crime based on anything.
Right. I don't think we should. So I guess that's my point.
Thank you. So it's my turn. Are you done, Commissioner Savage? Okay. I agree pretty much with what's been shared, with a particular focus on policing and hate crime. I would like to also double down on belonging. I think much to reflect Commissioner Eberly's thing. I think there are a lot of people that are in Palo Alto that after COVID don't know where they fit, where they belong. And as that community, our previous research and our future research, I believe, is very clear that people don't feel like they belong. I will say something about hate crimes, biases, and community. The challenge we're currently having is we have to log the crimes, and if one group gets disproportionately more than the other, I think because we have limited time, we should focus on the groups that are being disproportionately impacted in our community. And I'm not going to say which group that is because I don't know, but I would say let's start looking at demographic data as we start dealing with hate crimes and impact, because I think that would be a great guiding post, because that can tell you where your worst festering points in our community are. Does that make sense? All right, staff, if we can bring up a blank work plan.
You'll have to give me a second for that. I don't think I have last year's, but
Okay,
I'm going to stop sharing. If you give me a second, I'll stop sharing and then I'll bring up a blank one. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Or staff, you can bring up last year's. It doesn't matter because I think it helps crystallize where we want to go.
Yeah, last year's we can show it as a second, but it's not a Word document. So what I can do, I'm trying to get either a blank one or last year's Word document. So if you can just give me a short time, I can get that for you.
Thank you much.
So would you like last year's as a Word document, or I could just get a blank one?
You can, I just want to show everybody what last year's plan is.
Okay, I will get that up just a second.
And compare it to what we actually accomplished so that people can get an idea of sort of pacing.
Okay, and I'm conscious again from Commissioner Kraus. I think I do need to, Kim, there we go. So unfortunately, I think by making the whole screen, being able to see it might be an eye exercise, but I will do my best. So this is what it looks like. And this is the format in which council likes to see it. So this is the document, how it looks, how it goes to council. That is not to say that this can't be the overview document and the HRC has its own more detailed document.
Well, I'd like, so just so everybody, how I'd like to approach this is we get the broad strokes together, and then March or April, we have some more detailed work plan items or questions asked. So if there's an item that needs more research, or we just want to make sure we can do it, maybe doing some research. So can you scroll down?
Of course.
As you can see, we had a total of 3, maybe 4 overall areas. I've been on the HRC long enough where I have seen as many as 16. And I think this is the year that I think this year we had one more than a previous year. What I have found, the years that the HRC is most successful and most effective is by focusing on 3, at most 4 areas, and really drilling down and working into those spaces. I think that is the ability of it. The other thing I'm grateful is that once we assign the 2 folks to it, that subcommittee will work, and as is our tradition, we'll bring it back for discussion to the commission. So, I want us to be personally honest on what level of bandwidth we each have, because it's easy to write stuff at the beginning of the year, but we want to make sure that, especially as we look at items and put our names in and start talking about it, I think we're going to have to be very honest with the amount of time, because we have a lot of work. So let's start at the top. I think there are some I'm sorry to do this to you again, staff. Can we see the notes one more time?
What I can do is I'll stop sharing. I'll do a save as of this document and we can go from there. But let me just have 30 seconds in the background to do that. And hold on.
Thank you, Minka.
You're welcome. Okay, so let me just get up the document with what we spoke about. So let me do that first. That's what you asked for. Hold on. Okay.
If you go to the top, please.
Yes, that's what I'm planning on doing.
After reviewing what staff, and I'm doing this from memory, but we could scroll a little bit. After listening to staff and all the commissioners, I have picked up on a couple of patterns. The first, I will call public safety, and we'll break it down. I think there are a few plate items here that could fall under public safety in our plan.
Let me just, okay.
Thank you.
So do you want to list the sub listings for this part, or do you just want to go through your?
Yeah, no, I want to list the sub listings.
Okay.
We just need to get it out.
Go ahead.
The things that fall into that is the police chief input, which was given to us by staff. And I just want to look through the list as we go to see if there are items that we can.
Yeah, it's be nice if we had two screens up, but go ahead, sir.
If you want to slide down a little bit.
Of course.
Because I want to make sure I'm getting every commissioner's input.
Okay, so we'll do just that, and
if you can just copy and paste Commissioner Everly, Community Safety and Justice.
With all the points underneath?
Yeah, it falls under the public safety element, I think. And let's go down.
Hold on. Okay, and then I will go down again.
Hate crime from Commissioner Kraus.
Okay.
No, I gotta go back one back.
I know.
One back.
Let me go. Hold on. There we go.
Yeah, and let's make it a separate bullet, like at the same level.
I got it.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I'm so glad I don't have your job right now.
I know, because I'm telling it to do one thing, but it's not. So
I see it too.
Yeah, I'll just go like this and it'll be clean in a little bit. But at this point, it's not. Oh, I know how to get it to do what I want to do. Just hold on one second. I think Mary's glad she's not here today.
Oh, I think Mary is glad.
Okay, go ahead. And let me scroll down again.
We have
we had Commissioner Kraus, Commissioners,
and Commissioner Regier. She has I think inclusion and hate crimes. Ability to pay is not
Yeah, I'll just get it here and then
Okay.
I will, um, okay.
Okay.
And then I
And-
think Commissioner Savage was,
Hate
I-
crimes. The Latino community is a significant piece in there.
okay, hold on. Okay,
Can we scroll down a little bit?
yes.
Let's put possible count. No, we'll do that under belonging. Okay. Let's keep going down. And then let's keep going. And then let's do suggest focus on individuals who are disproportionately impacted from mine as the last piece.
Okay. Sorry, I was already looking at something else.
Yes. So let's talk about this.
I'm
this-
sorry, Chair Smith, we haven't heard from you. It seems
I
like you're
did.
just kind of putting some things. Are you trying to make the agenda now? Because we haven't really heard what's important to you.
I did say what was important. That was the last thing I said. I said, if we go down, Minka has my notes. I said, policing was a significant issue and it was
Right.
covered in detail above. I said hate crimes.
Crimes, right.
But I really wanted us to focus on where the data is, who's getting impacted in our community to really drive our effort. I think we need to make a significant effort around hate crimes, but I want it to be data driven, not anecdotally driven. I just really wanted to state that piece. And belonging, I think we have a significant opportunities with the Asian community, the Pacific Islander community for working on belonging. All I'm doing right now is pulling together, I'm trying my best to pull together the main themes, and then let's have a discussion about the main themes. So this is a public safety bubble where what everybody sort of touched on, and I like to open it to discussion, open it to thoughts. Does this look like something that we could work with? I know after doing it this way, the one thing I noticed is I would love to bring the FBI in to do the hate crime piece. Because I think we should add that in because they, and again, Commissioner Savage sent the article and it really just brought it back to me to say we should bring them in because there's some real significant, really some significant public education pieces that will help decrease hate crimes. Commissioner Krause. You have to unmute. Are you unmuted?
You're still muted, Commissioner Krause.
Thank you. We had public health fall off the list. And I think that we're living in COVID times. And we
No, this
cannot-
is just one of the work plan items.
Okay,
We're just going through, I just went through, like, everybody had something about this. So it's
Yes.
it's sort of default there. Public health is definitely one of the areas I want to talk about.
okay,
I'm just
that's
going,
fine.
I'm just putting the trend line together about,
thank you.
yeah, it's easy to work on the points where everybody said the same thing and then then get into the weeds of the ones that we didn't have 100% on.
I agree. And by the way, I agree with the FBI point. As you and I were in that seminar, the data is so rich
I agree.
and we need that.
I agree. Any other commissioners have any thoughts? Is anything else that we need to put in this public safety category?
Hi, this is Patty. I just had a question about when you say input toward the hiring. What do you mean by input?
Commissioner Everly?
What I mean is first hear from the community about what an ideal police chief looks like and what are they, what do they want to see on the police chief? What are they concerned about? What kind of background, what kind of person we want to be the new police chief? And then after that town hall, I don't know, or a meeting where the public is invited to come and share their thoughts with us, have somebody come speak to the HRC about best practices. So we can then, I guess, go to the council afterwards or to the city manager. Like I said, I'm not sure how the hiring is done. Sorry.
City manager hires and then council
approves.
Stamps approves.
That's right.
So we would, in this process, we directly interface with city manager because it's his purview.
So get the input and then learn from experts, whomever we think would be beneficial to hear from. And we can discuss that as a committee, right? Who do we want to reach out to? And then basically what I have in mind, and this is what I would consider important and what I hope that other people in the community would consider important. And again, I might, I don't know what people are going to say, but I know what people have said in the past when they've called to our meetings, but basically how to hire a police chief who's going to treat people with dignity, humanity, respect them, be just, non-discriminatory. How does policing look like? What do we want policing to look like in Palo Alto? There are so many ways that policing can take shape, and what do we as a community want that to look like, So that's what I was thinking about.
Thank you for clarifying. Any other questions on this area?
Just one more thing on that, because the police chief is going to set the tone, is going to set of how the officers are going to behave out on the street. Do we want officers like coming up to everybody on University Avenue?
I couldn't live in a city like that.
They set the tone. So I think it's important for us to tell the city manager what we want. Plus these police, whoever they hire, will have a whole background, wherever they worked before. So are there questions that we want to know about how was this police chief or how was he as an officer, in the other jurisdiction? I think there's a lot to unpack there.
Oh, I totally agree. I'm just wondering about, I would put transparency in there besides just hear from, I would put transparencies. I know that's, but
Yes, I think.
And discuss our role as a liaison. I would say under our work plan, I think that we should discuss the liaisons and what we hear and what our role is in all of this. And I guess that's part of the work plan. I would like to have more of a discussion and more of what the community and what we as a group expect from our liaisons and reporting to our own meetings.
All right, we could definitely put that on the work plan. Thank you. I feel like we have enough here to make this one of our priorities for the year.
Are we voting right now?
No,
Or
no,
we're ju-
I'm,
okay,
I'm, I'm
okay.
saying it, and
Okay.
I'm looking for, well, maybe, maybe not. I just feel like it's almost low hanging fruit because there's so much there, and we as a community need to figure out what policing looks like. We are in a interesting in place because we've had parts of our community have had challenges around transparency and how the police have responded to certain incidents. We have other parts of our community that are deep into, they want to be publicly safe, and they'll, they want to what were we talking about? They want to do license plate readers like we live in Russia or something. Like it's like, so I think this public safety piece is super critical. So let's go to the next item. And as we get a full buffet of it, and we get everything.
I'm sorry, Paloma. I'm just kind of concerned. I just don't like how we put the hate crimes agenda item, make statement of city free of hate speech, or don't forget Latino community. I don't think, and then suggest focusing on individuals who are disproportionately impacted. If I don't forget Latino community, I don't know, but that this is rubbing me the entire.
So these are just notes. Minka said we're going to clean them up. And I should have said this earlier.
And
we are getting the overall idea, and I think Daryl asked the question earlier. At the end of this, we're going to have the broad strokes, and I want March or April for us to come back with the policing, the policing piece we have to do because there's a March thing there. But I want by March or April for us to come back with some definitive action items on each of these areas. So hate crimes agenda.
So maybe instead of putting hate crimes based on anything, and don't forget Latino community, maybe put because those should be together, because that is my point about the hate crimes. It's not hate crimes based on anything. I mean, they need to be put together or made a little bit more, not like, oh, it's just based on anything. And let's not forget, I just think it makes it less serious the way that I think they should be put together or like she just did. But
Minka, can we drop hate crimes? And I want to have fidelity to each person's point. Can we drop down to that? And let's put hate crime anything and don't forget Latino community as two separate points, because I think there's fidelity to each person's point. And when we have those that are going to work on refining this topic for us, let them come back with a clean statement and figure out where we go. But I want, when they're looking at it, they can refine it. Yes, Vice Chair.
I think, I know, hate crimes based on anything was meant just as based on, any hate crime.
Right.
Based on, race, sexual orientation, gender orientation, disability.
So basically,
I would throw in
all hate crimes. So all hate crimes is a legal definition, right?
Right.
It is a underlying crime. It's a crime that has a hate element to it. So I think if we say all hate crimes, I think it will cover it because there is a legal definition for that.
Right.
Yes.
There is a significant. I think the point of don't forget the Latino community is significant because a lot of stuff. We've had a lot of news cycle around Black hate crimes. We've had a lot of news cycle around Asian American hate crimes. Very valid. But I think given that I think it's 7% of our population is Latino and their hate crimes and they're underreported, having that as a reminder is a good place to have. So does that make sense?
Sort of, kind of, maybe.
Okay. We can keep talking.
I'd like to make just one suggestion, not to complicate things further.
Mhm.
As far as the work plan, I'd like to see these two things separated. Hate crimes should be in a category of its own, and police chief input or search should be its own category. They fall under the public safety, but they are two entirely different things. One needs action immediately, and the
Mhm.
other is an ongoing problem that we need to discuss as well.
Okay. Okay. Minka, I don't know how to administratively do that, but I think Commissioner Savage's points are valid.
Right, I hear Commissioner Savage's points. I think the question that I have is hate crimes not under public safety? Because we do,
Can you pull up last year's plan? I think there's a solution in last year's plan.
okay, let me just make sure this is saved first. Oops.
So you see how we did inclusion and belonging, and we did community conversation as one, and then we did inclusion, belonging, and we did that as a separate item. It's the same broad category, but it's broken out. I think that's probably the best approach. If the commissioner agreed, that would be a good way to approach it. Is that sort of what you're looking for, Commissioner Savage?
That's exactly what I meant, yes.
Okay. And commissioners, do we feel comfortable with that approach?
So can you lead me through that?
So I would say anything that has to do with the police chief search, since it's a limited time and specific process, including input hiring, hearing on what the public needs, best practices. I think those go into its own, public safety category, and that will be public safety, police chief, police hiring, and then we can use another public safety, and it will be like, general crime, hate crimes, all of those trends. Did I say that right, everybody? Okay, I'm getting some nods, so I feel good about it.
Well, it seems like we're focusing on the police right now, so I think that's what we're doing. So I would think that it's more than just hate crime behavior towards hiring a police officer and police chief, and I think it's not just hate crime. I think there's some things, for example, equity. So I don't know how you would say that in regards to, it's not just hate crime. I mean, there's many, how we deal with a public safety issue is regarding equity, economic equity. I mean, and I don't know, it's regarding the homeless, and it's not part of the inclusion, but I think it's important for when we're hiring a police chief, a community chief in justice, it's not only making sure that they're following around, now you moved around, but community safety is important. What if we put toward, here from, I don't know where to put it.
So I would say, I would put in another
focusing on
bullet.
individuals who are disproportionately impacted. Maybe that's.
I would put another bullet, Minka, and I would say
where another bullet
under community safety and justice. We're just saying right where you were with the police chief search, because I feel like we need to make sure there's a diversity and equity lens in the whoever in the process, making sure there is diversity. Am I adding the right words here, Patty?
Yeah, that was a good one, but I think it's important to know how the police chief feels about, make sure there's a diversity and equity that's in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I agree with you. I think how how we treat the least of these is how we treat everyone. It is just indicative of how people treat others. So I think making sure that those that are housing challenged, those that are minorities, those that how are they responding to that would be a significant part of it. So I agree with you.
Right. And also age. I mean, I've just heard that it's not very pleasant to be a teenager sometimes in our community.
Okay. We can definitely do that. All right. So
Can I just add one thing?
Yes, that's true.
Just the diversity and equity lens. Yeah, should be in all the hiring of all the new police officers too. So, I mean, we'll give input in as far as the police chief, but I'd love for the HRC to communicate to the city manager that I would hope that they are hiring, looking at diversity and equity, looking at members. I'm curious to know, are they going to look for officers who speak Spanish, who speak Mandarin? I mean, a huge population of Palo Alto speaks Mandarin. Do we have any officers in the force that speak Mandarin? You know, does the force reflect the community? So
I think these are all great points. And what I like about them is they're asking questions that are absolutely clear. I also think we'd want to, and HRC reflects public comment. There's a sense in some corners of our community that there's a lack of transparency. There was a very well-written article by a community member a few weeks back talking about how the county actually was able to work with the dispatcher and the radio stuff and allow it not to be all concealed. And Palo Alto said, no, we just want it all concealed. And it was a comparison to how the county and other areas had done a job to do some level of transparency with this new federal mandate. And Palo Alto said no communication. And it was a real challenge. So I think that's going to be, those are the kind of questions we need to ask. Yes, Commissioner Vergara.
Oh, I was sorry. I agree with that but I think that the city council already made that decision that they're going to have on the encryption about, so they're going to have a study session. So maybe we could be part
of the.
We can't invite ourselves to a study session, but we can.
No, but I mean, we could, we could, what I'm saying is that part of your transparency in the issue is but this is more nuts and bolts of our issue, but I think transparency is a very important part of, and yes. I did say that earlier, wasn't put on there about transparency.
I think yes. And I think, I think asking questions around transparency is going to be very critical. And I think I said it once at a city council meeting. I said, you can follow policy and always be right, and people will still feel like they got a raw deal. How are you, and how are we, and particularly in the police chief, one of the things that has frustrated me is we have incidences, we didn't hear about them, and then a report takes 18 months to come. And my contention has been, why is it taking 18 months to do an investigation? So I think transparency is a significant piece of that. I would also say hate crime is a big issue. On the other side of hate, I don't know where we reconcile in this, that there is a part of our community that doesn't feel safe. And what does public safety look like? We've had some incidences that have that have risen to the level where people feel uncomfortable and unsafe. So where is that in our plan? Because I think it becomes very critical for us to like really think about that, because that's part of just living in our community. And if we don't address that, I think people become very reactionary and over police to address that, instead of saying what are policies we can put in place to address that.
So is there a statement you want to put?
I would-
I moved community safety and justice down because it was separate than just leading the session. So that's
Commissioner,
almost a third item if you think about it, because if these are going to be very singular,
Mhm.
police chief hiring, hate crimes, I'm not sure.
I
where-
think community and safety, Commissioner Eberly, do you feel like that could be a breakout for community safety and justice?
I do think, as you said before, that it needs to be data driven.
Mhm.
And I think that the commission and part of the action item would be to dive into the actual statistics.
Mhm.
And I want recent statistics, not 10 years ago and 2 years ago. You know, since the start of the pandemic, what do
Mhm.
those numbers look like for the city of Palo Alto? I can tell you, I've lived here for, I don't know, 11 years now.
Mhm.
And one thing that happened that really shocked me
Mhm.
was that a gun was used, you know, when
In a robbery.
on South Court, when somebody was breaking into somebody's car. And then when they ran after the suspect, that a gun was shot. And I cannot remember an incident like that. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recall any incidents where an actual gun was used on a low level, you know, breaking into cars. I would put it as it's a property crime. Okay. It's not a strike. So lower level, even though it's very serious, but for a gun to be used to then raise that to such a serious crime, I don't recall that happening before. Does anybody? I mean, since I've lived here, I was shocked.
I've been here 9 years. I don't remember that.
That was shocking to me. And I do believe that it is a result of several things: pandemic,
Inflation.
the rise in drug use,
Mhm.
and honestly, the wealth inequality that has been happening. It's accelerated. So I think there's a lot of things to unpack.
Maybe some of you, I mean, I remember when someone, I mean, I think there has been murders, there have been things in the past. I mean, the person that was killed right by right by the police station, I don't remember how that happened. But I think that when you discuss the role of, when historically, when you're saying data driven, are you asking for how much? I guess what I'm questioning is when you're saying has crime, there's lots that's not reported. And I think historically, when you look at things, I mean, most people, if they're a police officer, they look at crime things. If you're a lawyer, you look at the law stuff. If you're looking at the community, I mean, that was my training. That is what I'm going. When a community starts breaking down, for example, people are not feeling belonging. When businesses become bigger and people don't feel part of a community, that is when crime starts happening in a community, when a community starts breaking down. And I think one thing that we could do as a Human Relations Commission is thinking, okay, there is crime. What's going on? How can we make, and it goes along with the belonging and all of that. I mean, and I think we are the Human Relations Commission. We're not the police. And I think that when people don't hear transparency from the police, when they hear crime, we also have Stanford right there. We're a wealthy community, but I think it goes along with the belonging and making people feel part of a community, which is a bigger issue. And I think back to Chair Smith saying we don't want to become a community where we have I forgot what you said about the license plates.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that we could do is how do we get.
So I was going to bring the next point in.
Yeah.
So let's put I don't know what to put there, but I'll
Yeah, I
come back
don't-
to it.
I,
So concerns about crimes. Let's put concerns about crimes and discuss role with HRC under the public safety piece right here.
okay.
And let us go to the next area or next pattern.
I'm sorry, we still don't have transparency up there at all.
Yes, you did.
Where?
Well, I thought we put transparency under
Where would you
the
like that?
under
It's
the
not
chief,
anywhere.
under the chief piece
Transparency in
in
hiring,
policies.
transparency in police policy, or transparency in police hiring?
Transparency in policy and hiring and reporting.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vice Chair Eberly?
Sorry. How do I? Oh. I just back on that, just briefly. I mean, yes, there have been homicides. I think it's different when there, from what I've seen, there's a lot of domestic violence that ends up in homicide. There, historically, yes, homicides, but I think that a gun being used during a car break-in is a different kind of, it rises to a different level because, like just from what I know and what I've seen, and that's what I meant by, I don't remember seeing something like that in Palo Alto, but I also don't want us to be alarmists. I want us, when I say data-driven, is I understand how sometimes things seem worse than they are. Not to trivialize anything, but just let's look at the numbers and then talk about possible causes and then what we can do to make it better. I agree. When you're a member of a community, I can't say how much I love going to the same places that I've been going. Like, let me just put it out there. I love Douce de France, and I love the fact that I've been going there for 11 years, and it's the same people working behind the counter. That makes me feel good when I go in there, and it's something that I love about Palo Alto. And if there's anything that we can do to forge a sense of belonging and community, and that kind of sense would drive down instances of crime, then yes, of course, it makes total sense, and I'm here for it. Thank you.
I think our next topic area is belonging. And that's a big topic. Let's go through the commissioner's comments. So let's go possible referral.
Oops.
Okay. Yep. Let's do the diversity training under that also for the commissions. Let's do bring forth ideas from community. And then, okay, so AAPI is already included. And can we add one item to that? Better outreach to the AAPI community in Palo Alto. Okay. This was the second trend I saw. I'd love to hear your commissioner's thoughts on this one. How do you feel about it? Are you comfortable with it? Does this seem, I know we're going to do some work on this because we have 2 city-based things and it's a continuation from last year. I think we add a significant lift, which is the better outreach to AAPI community. And I think there is a theme that I think we need to do better work with marketing what the HRC is doing. So that we can really impact communities and get better ideas from the community. So is there anything else that you'd like to add on to belonging, take away from belonging? Yes, Commissioner Regia.
This is quite, I don't mean to sound like a tyrant, but I think part of belonging and part of, and I don't, is we are most of us are very well educated, have been around, and I think that part of belonging is doing things together and doing and experiencing. For example, I participated in last year's Lunar New Year when the Chinese group, I can't remember their names, did a whole dumpling, and they had families, and it was Zoom, and we all were making dumplings and privately, and it was incredible looking at different generations. And I think that part of belonging is feeling like you belong to something, and also, and I'm going to go back to belonging and how we participate and how we let people feel like they belong. Part of belonging is feeling like you can speak to a group and not be called names. And we need to address civility from the city council members to each other. I mean, I have heard red baiting, and maybe some of you don't remember, but my mother-in-law was speaking out about things. She was a journalist, and my husband, when he was little, was a swastika and a burning crosses burned in his yard. I think that when people speak up, no matter what they say, I think that we should respect them and give them time. And I think that when something doesn't happen, when they are, I mean, I've heard city council members mock and calling each other comrades in a city council meeting. I've heard another city council member call another person that was running for political being a socialist. And let's not forget what happened to a speaker on Monday night. I think we need to be accountable to how we behave towards each other and make it win. So if you want people to belong, we have to really say, we will take your comments and we will welcome them, and will not tolerate any type of, from ourselves or from other people, about calling each other names and having things fun. I mean, I think that part of belonging is making everyone feel belonging. And I don't mean to be like, and I guess I'm kind of upset about the learning series, microaggressions. I mean, that's not going to make people belong. We need to set up programs. I mean, one thing that we could, maybe you could remember, but I thought that the music, international music thing was started from the Human Relations Commission.
World Music Day.
The World Music Day. That is exposing people to different types of music, and it's getting people involved.
Well, I think the idea with the learning series is just not to focus on just some, topics that may or may not be included, but really thinking about, topics of under the idea of belonging and what is important for the HRC to hear and community to hear, or actions that could happen. So I think the opportunity needs to be given to flesh that out before saying, that it may or may not be.
Wait. Can can we?
So I'll put in a thing,
Wait,
and so belonging, I would say that I would like to see more of a belonging of how, I'm glad you put civil public discourse. I would like to say in regards to belonging and during COVID times and not COVID times, I mean, I heard from the constituent is that it's very difficult for right now because of the prices that many things are happening and within the city, the costs of things. And also, for example, the school district is probably not going to be offering summer school for anyone. It's going to be for people. And I think that's part of belonging is how do we as a group sustain something so people have something to belong to? We keep on saying belonging, but how do we put something that to belong to, I guess, my action item. We don't, the only reason why people don't belong is because we don't have anything for them to belong to. Or it's like some people want to be. I don't know how to be like, but
Well, can I maybe interject? And the thought that came to mind that is reduced barriers to belonging.
Yeah, that's an excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much,
reduce
staff,
barriers and
staff and commissioners.
I
Go finish, Commissioner
civil
Regan.
public discourse. I mean, I don't know how to just, because at the beginning of COVID, I was saying that we needed to work more. And we took off 4 months during COVID. And I mean, if we're going to put down specifics, I mean, I would like to have something like a poet laureate, and have a competition where people write poems. And because we do have different cities have a poet laureate, and that would involve a lot of people. I mean, if you want to get down to basics, for example, the learning series is up there.
Well, you maybe can mention that at the joint meeting with the Public Arts Commission.
Okay, one way we do civil discourse is when the chair of the meeting says, "Can we get a breath?" We stop.
Okay.
Thank you. Vice Chair Everly, you're next, please.
I just want, sorry, let me lower my hand. To address the microaggression and the unconscious bias possible topic for a learning series. I mean, I think the city has a lot of events and that people are welcome to participate in them. And again, I think it's great to have events, but I think that there are microaggressions and unconscious bias that go on that people don't realize they do. And I'll give you one example in my life. So English is not my first language. I came from Brazil when I was a teenager. And one way that I always felt like I did not belong was when I spoke to somebody, let's say in a court setting, and the first question out of their mouths was, oh, you have an accent. Where are you from? Mm-hmm. Now, most people might think nothing of it, but to me, it specifically and immediately tells me you are like they're othering you, like you're different from us. And I will say that in a city where so many people speak other languages, that happens all the time. And I know personally of several people that because of their accents, they feel unsafe to speak up. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be a great service to the community to have, a panel discussion, I don't know, some kind of event where people do get the opportunity to learn about microaggression and unconscious bias. And that would help people keep that in mind and welcome others and feel like they belong. So that's what I was thinking. Yeah. I thought that would be a way to actually address, the system that divides us.
So I just want to give some considerations to this dialogue. This is not an either or. You can do both. We have right and left brains, and that and belonging means that we each need different things to belong. There is no hard and fast rule. And I think we as a community, particularly those of different backgrounds, need to hear each other in these moments and say, if this part of my community needs a sessional bias, they feel it will be valuable, and this part of my community feels like they need events, let's get those and let's see how we can bridge that. So I think it's not an either or. And I think this is the valuable part of belonging, is saying, I might not exactly get what's on the other side of this, but if it's important to somebody, let me at least see why to do it. You feel what I'm saying, everyone? So I think we leave both of them there. And let's be clear, when we pick commissioners for each of these areas, they got to come back in a month or 2 months with a more refined plan and researching on it. So this is not the final statement. This is just the jumping off point to get the details done. And this is the critical thing, and is that the public's going to comment on this at the end after we go through this process. So you get multiple inputs on it. Does that make sense? All right. Let's move to the next thing, because I don't want us to be here all day. Can you keep going? Okay. I think part of belonging that's going to be critical is COVID endemic plan. I think I have a new word: COVID endemic planning. And I think that part of belonging is how we re-enter the public health space, because people, I forget who said it, some are going to wear masks, some are not. And there's several COVID endemic planning and endemic community out. I don't know. Somebody will figure it out. I was just really related to include.
You said something, COVID endemic planning, and you said something, and
Okay, sorry. The reason I said it's based on inclusion, because they're going to be.
Thank you.
Because they're going to be people that want to be safe and want to feel like they can go out and be safe and not be ostracized. And there are people. Well, I said that so wrong. Let me start over, because this is why we're talking about this. There are those that want to take more precautions for their own personal sanity, and we want them to feel comfortable. There are those that feel like they want to do different. They don't want to take the same level of precautions. We want them to also feel part of community. So how do we make this civil and belong? Because already signs of incivility around this. Does that make sense? Okay. Commissioner Krause.
Am I making faces?
you had a thought, and it was very clear, and so I wanted to hear it.
Well, I think it's not just feeling ostracized, and you were correct with that word. Because you wear a mask. If you don't wear a mask, it's bigger than that. It's bigger that we're now living in a COVID world. And there are some precautions that will be around the perimeter, but they'll be there. This is not the last, according to my medical groups, this is not the last respiratory virus that will become a pandemic. So we as a city should have some guidelines of what we feel people can do to feel increasingly safe. I'm not talking about the schools. That's what the teachers unions and the state of California, but I'm talking everyday citizens. For example, they're now beginning to have literature out on the time span that the booster will stay useful. So what's our policy? Do we recommend a fourth shot? Where can you go get one? What do you need to do? How's it relate to the county? You know, that kind of thing. We need it to be bigger than that because public health, unfortunately, is here to stay, at least for the next decade or two.
I agree with you on that. I would like to say there's two sides to it. There is the factual side, which you I think so eloquently stated, but I also think there is the societal and the personal comfort side.
Exactly.
And I think I don't think we are, well, I know we aren't equipped. We could barely do the work of the 5 commissioners much but I think there is like civility. There is like, how do we as a community say your choice is your choice, and go from there?
Well, why don't we, you know, I tried last time. Why don't we develop a lexicon of hyperlinks? If you want more information on this, you go there. If you want more information on this, you go there. But so we at least disseminate a framework. Because we are the only county in the state of California that is abiding on wearing masks. So that's my 2 cents.
Commissioner Regier?
I'm wondering, and Mika did a lot of work during COVID trying to find, and in regards to getting washing services, and I think that part of public health involves, in regards to Human Relations Commission, is not engaging, but because it's very difficult when COVID happened, and we need to have something in place. When the libraries closed, when all the places where people were washing their hands, bathrooms were being closed. I mean, if it happens again, we should have something set up so that we have places, or even when the heating, you know, when the heat hits and we have cooling stations, that's a public health issue too.
Right.
And I think that's a.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would agree with you, Commissioner Regier, because I think in my thinking of what the role of the city, and I know some cities like Berkeley has their own public health department, which is quite unique. It's mostly at the county level. I'm trying to, as your staff liaison, thinking, you know, what is the role of the HRC? And then I start looking at those, you know, protected classes that you're to be concerned of. So when I think of public health, just general information, I think that's the role of the state and the county and the CDC. Now, the HRC, I would think your job, if I hadn't already, you know, been meeting with nonprofits to see how you're doing, or if we didn't have that special resource sheet for the unhoused, it's really making sure that human services or the city is saying, okay, how is this affecting the elderly, or how is this affecting, is there a role for the city in this, or is there a city staff member that has a role in that? So that's what I'm really think of with public health, is looking at the roles that the city can play within its structure and to ensure that it happens. Like I said, with my, you know, COVID help sheet for the unhoused, where they can find a bathroom, where they can get shelter and that type of thing.
So this is what I think.
And I guess maybe, I mean, but it also goes to public health in regards to health and safety, not necessarily just with public health, not with just COVID, but for example, when people that are living in their cars have nowhere to dump their garbage. I mean, the city, you know, I really worked with that, you know, when our safe parking lot on the permanent one, Embarcadero, when it didn't have hot water. I mean, there are many things regarding public health, and I remember that have to do not just with COVID. And I think that I remember, I think it was one of our previous commissioner chairs, Gabe, was saying that he thought that we should have a public health commission. I mean that, because it opens up a lot. It opens up a lot of public health in regards to human relations and what is our role, because the staff can only do so much.
Okay. Can we just scroll down, staff? There was somebody else that included something on public health, so I'd like to continue down.
Was it this one on business owners or?
Challenging of helping community move from pandemic to endemic, maximizing respect and inclusion.
I think we
got that.
I think we kind of got that. If you want, if
No,
you
no,
like how it's worded better.
Yeah, let's put it there because I want people's original
Okay,
thoughts
hold
on the
on.
paper.
I did not do. Hold on. Let me go back. Here we go.
Okay.
And these don't always have to, the bullets don't always have to be in the right order.
I know. I just want to get it on the page. Thank you.
Okay.
And
That
there
was
was a
it.
business. There was a business one, right? You got it already.
No,
Support small business.
I know that that's probably something that chamber has as a focus, but
Great. Yeah.
hold on.
Okay. Now. Okay, so that's public health. Can we go through the list one more time? And Minka, as we go through it, I want to see if we can put strike throughs.
We didn't put this. We didn't put the HISRAP. That is
that's on the regular work though.
let me just
So
Are we done with public health? Are we moving on? Because my climate stuff wasn't on there at all. So are we going through?
I'm going through the whole list. We're striking.
Okay, that's what we're doing.
We're striking through, and then we're going to figure out priority. That's done. Let's go.
If it's okay with you, I just want to bring things up.
Yes, bring it.
Before I forget them.
Bring that to regular work. Thank you.
This point isn't specifically there on city free of hate speech. Do you want that moved up?
No, we're gonna have to come back with a whole thing on that. So. Okay. We did transparency. We did all commissioners. The only one we didn't get was yes. Go up two.
Hold on.
That's good.
That one. Okay, so I'll start back up at the top and
can you put core, not regular work, core responsibilities?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then let's put I don't know where to okay.
So you want me to scroll down again?
Yeah, I don't know where to put electrification, and I don't housing and homelessness, we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Commissioner Kraus, Commissioner Regier, what do you didn't bring it up in your points, but where do we go from here with the work we do on housing and homelessness?
If I may, Chair, I think since the city council has made it such an important benchmark, I think that anything done with housing and homelessness and temporary housing should be highly coordinated with that work, and we should embellish it with them.
I agree. I agree. Now, what does that look like in a practical way for us? I don't know. How does that work for us? Does it, I had the city priorities pulled up. I don't even know if they flesh it out too much. Is there a subcommittee for the city that's doing any work on this, Minka? Or is it
I would think that there's, I mean, it's listed as one of their
I saw
priorities, but I don't know where it's going. First is probably planning and transportation is working on that, but
well, there's a great deal of work that's being done on the new facility across the freeway, converting that, working with the transitional housing people.
Right.
And I think we should be working with them and establishing a relationship. So whatever, I know that's a big agenda for the mayor in all the conversations that I've been privy to privately and publicly. So we should go to the mayor and say, what can we do? How can we collaborate? How can we embellish what's being done? There's a lot of work.
So are you talking about the Home Key project, Commissioner Kraus?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'm part of that planning committee, or I'm privy to the planning committee work, and I've been attending the meetings with our planning and city manager's office. So as there are entry points for the Human Relations Commission along the way, I can keep you abreast of what's happening there. At this point, you know, the application is being reviewed by the state, but I can continue to give updates on that, you know, project. I'm trying to think the role of the HRC is really mainly in to support the work of the nonprofit provider that will be running it and other nonprofits in the community to ensure that the unhoused know about it and they are working, you know, with their case managers to be able to access the services there if and when it's approved and built.
I think that has become such a main agenda for them that we should enhance whatever we do to help them move that forward.
I think that could be possibly decided, you know, as those opportunities present themselves.
Right.
So there is a section on each of the HRC's work plan, just because of the nature of the work that you do, that says, you know, address issues as they become apparent in the community. So I think that is, you know, up to you, but that could possibly be one of those issues.
Commissioner Regier?
I want to clarify, maybe Mink and I have a different idea of what our roles are. And I don't feel that my role working on Home Key or working on any of the things that the city is doing is to advocate, to promote what and get people to belong. I felt all along about the housing and the homelessness that part of our role is to listen to the community and also to suggest things for example, when I saw the tour of the one in Langhorne, I brought up the
Mountain
issue
View.
about bathrooms. And I was talking to the CEO about the bathrooms, and now the bathrooms are being incorporated so that people have their own individual bathrooms in the new project. I don't think my role is to just rubber stamp or even to encourage people to start belonging to the program. So I think in homelessness, for example, so let me just say that when regarding to housing and hopelessness, I think that we're part, in my view, and even with the safe parking lot, is that we are to enhance and to help the groups, but not necessarily just to rubber stamp them.
I didn't say rubber stamp.
No, I know you didn't, Michelle. No,
Wait.
and neither did Minka. Neither did Minka. But
So-
what I'm
so-
saying is
so
that,
this-
for
this
example,
is-
that I think that part of homelessness and housing is not just the safe parking lot and not just the home key. I think it's also to say that is also rent control, just helping people find.
So I think
So can we?
I want
I
to.
know you're looking for specifics, Coloma, and I'm sorry that I don't really.
So this is the one thing I will say.
Uh-huh.
This commission doesn't rubber stamp the city, but I think we ought to say things. We ought to approach it and say, if the city is doing something for like Home Key, it is a significant program that is helpful. I think for us moving forward, though, as we write a yearly plan, I want to make sure that there is some action item that we can add to it. And because at the end of the year, I want to make sure that we get to the finish line. I've been on this commission long enough to know if we don't start adding some flesh to the bones and we sort of say we're going to look and address this, we end up not getting as far as we possibly can. I think so
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think, I mean, housing and homelessness has been around for a long time. It's not like it's been an emergency kind of thing. I think the only reason, and I guess what I'm saying is that we could have an action plan, we could do it, but I think we are working towards that. But what I'm saying is that there's many things that contribute to a plan that necessarily isn't like having a study session. You know what I'm saying?
No, nobody's saying have a study session.
No, I know. I'm just saying I'm looking for help there. And I guess the question is what do you want us to put down there? I mean, housing and homelessness. I mean, what are you looking for?
So if we as we go back over our responsibilities, I at least need some meat on the bone so that we can go say, okay, we are going to approach housing and homelessness from finding resources or give it. I don't know. I just need something besides, because every issue that we address is highly complicated. You know, when you look at what we're talking about public health, we're talking about policing, we're talking about belonging. All of these have been around for years and they're very, very complicated. So in order for us to be effective is we have to at least say, I'm not going to solve all of it this year, but at least I'm going to try to address this piece of it. So I'll give you a good example. When we talked about in the policing piece where we said, let's go get somebody who knows about hiring police chiefs and what are the criteria and how do you find out? Because we don't know. And what is the best practices? We want to bring somebody in to say that because it's informative to us. So I don't know I just need something.
Okay. So maybe have on the housing and hopelessness, I mean, maybe have a liaison. Maybe we could have that as a liaison to the Opportunity Center or to the safe parking to move Mountain View or to because I think we are having these connections, and we are being, I mean, attending things and our nose and ears. I mean, because we have been invited from the city council to have the police stuff. We have seen that as an issue, but housing and homelessness, I mean, there's so many compartments to it in regards to the housing element, planning department. Do you know what I'm saying, Smith? So to have,
but I think the reason we got invited by the city to do the other things were because whether it was our independent work on hate crimes and they invited us to come back and talk about that, or work on Black Lives Matters and those protests, I think if we can find our uniqueness, the opportunities will start coming our way to participate at a higher level. And this is what I'm going to do, because I think I want us to, I think electrification and climate, what I want us to do is take a 10-minute break and come back for public comment. And then we're going to figure out how to put all of this into some form of document. There might be some left, there might not, into some form of document so that we can say, at least we start. And then after we put it on the document, we're going to put 2 names beside each of them. And we're going to ask the 2 names that we put beside them to come back with some working plans to say, how do we accomplish this? Or how do we even start the process? Or how do we even explore it? Or what do we think we need to do so that we can go from there? Yes, Commissioner Ricker.
oh, I'm sorry.
Because I think we're not going to plan the whole world today, but I think what I would prefer us to do is get to a point where we can start putting some names with some action items behind them. I think we've talked for, what is it, 2 hours now, Minka?
Yeah, close to.
Okay, we've talked for 2 hours, so I think it's time for everybody to take a break, walk around, get water, clear your heads. We'll come back in 15 minutes. My first thing we will do is we will have public comment. This is what I'll do. We'll re-show what we've worked on. We'll have public comment, and then we can start attaching these items to things on the action plan, and then we can start assigning people to them, because it's one thing to have things written out. It's another thing to have people working on them. Because I think once we start doing that part, I feel there's only 5 of us and we have a lot. So we might have to leave some stuff on the cutting room floor. So we'll see where we end up. So is everybody good with a 15-minute break? Thank you so much.
So just a reminder to put yourself on mute and stop your video.
Got it. All right. Let's go to public comment, please.
Okay, I'll just wait till the clerk has up the. Thank you. Mr. James, you have 5 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I apologize. I fell asleep almost on the couch for a while, and I've been glad to listen into all of this. And of course, it helped me avoid working on my taxes this morning, so I appreciate that as well. I'm looking at a piece called "The Testing of Hrc Adams," and it was last Sunday's New York Times, and it's written by Christina Greer, political scientist at Fordham University, political and lots of other credentials. But I thought there was, I'm just going to skip around in the article, eloquent way to address some of the stuff that we're talking about. Mr. Adams, who is the mayor of New York City, he's a Black man. He was a police officer there for 20 years, and he just took over for de Blasio in January. It says, Mr. Adams' Black constituents want safe streets without police abuse. Wow. That's why I think it's so critical that you put the public safety with due process and equal protection under the law. Isn't that what we really want out of our police? We want safe streets, but we don't want people being abused in exchange, people of color, poor people, the unhoused. So I like that a lot. Further up in the article, I'm skipping around, he said, talking about Black people, many Black Americans have a friend or relative like Eric Adams, the new mayor of New York. We have uncles who bring up the progressive benefits of Black Lives Matter in the same breath as the conservative talking points about Black on Black crimes. We have relatives who are cops or former cops who do not want the police defunded, nor loved ones stopped, frisked, and mistreated by the police. You know, that's kind of where I'm at. And that's kind of where I'm at in terms of our hiring process. We have to hire a chief with that kind of wisdom that understands public safety and the fear of crime is very real. It is in New York City. We see he's had Mayor Eric Adams had a really tough time. 2 officers shot, relatively quickly after he was inaugurated. Fear of crime in New York City going up. So these same issues resonate across the country. But people want justice along with public safety. I would suggest that at the very end of the piece I sent to you all, talking with Henrietta on justice, a piece that I sent you, it was back on December 13 that it was filmed. At the end, Jeffro Moore, Reverend Jeffro Moore, my friend, past president of the NAACP, comes on. Past president of the NAACP for the Silicon Valley and the San Jose area, now in Atlanta, was also on post for a lot of years, a peace officer standard in training. And he talked a lot at the very end of that video, about the recruiting efforts that they made to get more Black officers into San Jose, including going to historically Black universities, even had members of the San Jose Police Department recruiting team going to NAACP conferences to try to recruit. I would think Jethro would be good to be on with the police chief. I think Ron Davis, he's got a very, right now he's overseeing all the courthouses in the country for security. So it might be hard to get him, but he's a former police chief in East Palo Alto who's an expert on racial profiling and lots of other things. And then Raj Jayadev from Silicon Valley Debug and the Albert Cobarrubias Justice Project. That would be really, really important. I don't think it's smart I've talked to Greg Tanaka. I saw him on the city council this week. He feels like the Asian community hasn't had equal listening to by the council or the HRC. So we need to remedy that by at the same time realizing that as the chair has said, there's been plenty of coverage, but not enough on the abuse of African Americans. And there seems to be a crossover there somewhere. So I think it does a disservice to not have members of the Black with the Asian community when we're talking about those issues. So it looks like a very busy year. We've got to hire a police chief, and I heard the word transparency be spoken, and we need to bring at least 3 or 4 of the potential candidates into town so we the public get to interview them, which almost happened in 2009. At least we had 3 candidates were listed as potentials and we could research them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jones.
Bye now.
The next speaker is Mr. Weiss. Go ahead, please. You have 5 minutes.
Hello, this is Mark Weiss. I live at 169 Bryant, downtown North Palo Alto. And I am taking a slightly oblique approach here, and I promise to yield part of my 5 minutes. So I have, ironically enough, on a handheld computer, a electronic copy of an article in the New York Times today. And in fact, when we're done here, I'm going to go downtown on my bicycle to Max Smokehouse and buy a hard copy of the same article. It is by a writer named Amanda Hess, Hess, as in Sam. February 11th is the Dateline Online, and she is a critic at large, and it's titled Dance, D-A-N-C-E. I said dance and leave the package on the porch. The combination of next day delivery, Ring, R-I-N-G, surveillance footage, and TikTok, T-I-K-T-O-K, has put a spotlight on Amazon drivers but it's also created a new main character, the package itself. So essentially, it's a critique of technology and just the very fact that there's now a very popular product that when I go, and I know who on my own block has this, I ring a doorbell and they can see me and they can film me. And the critic is talking about there's an interesting trend of content being created. It's a longer story, but what I'm trying to get at is I am very upset. I've sat here for 3 hours in front of my computer, in front of 2 computers, and I really think it is remiss of leadership in Palo Alto that we have not resumed in-person meetings in spite of the risk of a deadly disease. I believe meetings like this, we could do in person, we can do in the lobby of City Hall, 250 Hamilton, with the doors open, we can do in front of City Hall. And my problem is, I think it is an absolute problem, not a bonus, a problem, the proliferation of semiconductors, computers, social media. These devices divide us. Yes, I'm talking to you, a mediated version of my voice through a machine, but in reality, you are not listening. You are not seeing the vehemence in my face, my body language, etc. And I feel a lot of what we're doing today is a waste of our time. Hence, I think we should be studying what is the negative effect on human beings of the proliferation of computers. The venture capitalists, $1 billion worth of B, they are raising and giving to startups. Meanwhile, $1 billion worth of venture capital is being received by startups. We're getting more and more dependent on these machines, separated from ourselves. And yes, racist, neo-Nazis, and mother are taking advantage of us in this way. And we will never solve our problems of how to be kind to each other because we're stuck to this ball and chain. It is the devil. And I'm very upset, but I'm going to stop myself from using the F word. And these companies do business here. We don't even tax them. We leave $10 million a year on the table that we're afraid to ask the landlords to tax their tenants. So we don't have money to open the library. We don't have money to open the community center. And yeah, we're not going to get to the basis of racism if we're afraid to ask billionaires and trillionaires to do their share. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank the public for their comments. Okay, commissioners, we made a commitment to get you out of here by 2 o'clock, right? It is 1:38. So we're going to just do everything in 20 minutes. I don't think we are, but let's do this. Our final plan is not due to the city till April or May. Is that correct? Before the fiscal year. Is that correct, Lincoln?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. What I want to do right now is is have us go through liaisons, council buddies, and get those straightened out. What that will allow us to do is address the Cdbd and the police chief. What I want to do is when we have our meeting in March, March or April, we will go over the priorities one more time because our March meeting is already scheduled. We have Cdbd and the police chief. So April, and we have the Arts Council in March. So it's not like we have any work we can lose. In April, we come back and we look at that matrix, and I'll have Minka type it up and send it out to everybody and sort of put it in the plan so that we can start thinking about how to effectively do those pieces. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes, Patty. Yes, Commissioner Ricker.
We didn't address, are we just saying we're done with because we didn't address the housing part that you wanted us to do, nor did we address the climate emergency and the electrification stuff. So are we just leaving that on the table or?
We're leaving that on the table till April. I'm going to ask staff to please put it in a format that everything's on the work, looks like it's on the work plan.
Mhm.
And we'll have a discussion in April where we'll divvy it up and make final decisions.
Okay.
Because, and to give you some of my thinking on this, our March meeting, or we have 2 meetings in March, or 2 March meetings already scheduled. We have the city manager coming on policing, and we have Cdbd to deal with. both major heavyweight topics. Then we meet with the art commission the week after that. So we'd come out of that push looking at our April meeting to really come back. We'd have fresh eyes. We could think, we could do some research, we could do some probing, and we can analyze it. Does everybody feel comfortable with it?
That's so is there any discussions about so we're having a meeting in March with the city manager about the police. So who is going, I guess what I'm questioning is if we're having someone come and talk about what we want, are we just going to listen to the city manager, what their thoughts are? Or are we going to have, it just seems like if we're wanting to have someone to talk about what a police officer, what we're looking for, like, if we're looking for someone to talk about what it is that would give us I forgot what Commissioner Eberl was saying. Seems like that should be first before we meet with the city man. I mean, I'm just concerned about this. I guess what I'm point is we didn't have any discussion about this meeting and what are we trying to get out of it?
So
and that brings me back to how we're a commission. We're not just two people setting the agenda and just deciding.
So it's been the tradition of the HRC for years, as long as I've been on it, that the chair and the vice chair actually do set the meeting agenda, and then we discuss the items. I will meet. We have a meeting scheduled next week with the city manager, with staff, city manager, and we are going to talk about the format. Our number one priority here is to make sure we have community feedback before he even opens the door. I will also work with the vice chair on getting resources for the second meeting, but he requested the March 9th meeting, so March 11th meeting, so I'm honoring that request. Or he made two requests. He said, we could do a special meeting or we can do your regular meeting. And we already had a second meeting scheduled for that month. So we would have ended up having 3 meetings if we delayed it. So that's where we are now. So that we're clear, as is the tradition of the commission, the vice chair do, and order, the vice chair and chair do set the agenda. Number 2, as is done by what's the rule that we have? Make good Brown Act. There we go. Brown Act. We can only have 2 commissioners talk on any item, but nothing happens after that until the full commission votes. So all actions of this commission are vote based. So when, for example, somebody brings something back, it's a vote based thing. So at that point is when we have the discussion and questions, and some people want to talk, some people don't. So, all right. Can we bring, yes, Vice Chair.
I just want to say something. I have not had any conversations with the city manager about it. This was brought up at the last meeting we had, that the city was going to ask us, to help. I expect the city manager to come to us and tell us what they're looking from us. And that's separate from my suggestion that we get input from the public and then have an expert talk to us. So I don't expect all those things to happen at the next meeting. The only thing, and I wonder if we can talk quickly about it as a commission, do we think it's enough to advertise that the city manager is coming to our meeting and that during public comment would love to hear from the community? Or do we think we need to have an event, like a bigger event?
I don't know. But what I can say is this, I don't know. I would, can we raise our hands? I see people ready to talk. Just raise your hands. I'll get to you in order. Thank you. I don't know, Vice Chair. If we are willing to have another meeting in the month, I am willing to go back to the city manager and make that request. But it would have us do 3 meetings in 1 month. I'm all right either way. Either way, I don't know, but I do agree with you. I feel in my bones if we say it's our meeting and city manager's coming, we'll get less of a response than if we say we're having a special public forum with the city manager about the hiring of a new police chief. Is that where you were going with it?
Yes, I just, since I'm just curious as to what the experience has been in the past and what people's thoughts were.
This is brand new ground for us. I don't think we've ever been invited in the process before. So let's go staff, Regehr, and then Kraus.
Thank you for just letting me interject, because I think we're thinking about this a little bit different than the city manager was envisioning. He was envisioning that you do have this listening session and that he just makes some opening remarks. So he is not the focus of it. So your March 10th meeting is, then the chair and the vice chair would do planning to make this a very robust listening session for the community to come. And that will involve inviting the community. So that could very well involve doing some brainstorming about who could be there. And each of you can have an impact with the communities that you interface with to make sure that people are there. So Mr. Shikata will make some introductory comments, but it's really, he's looking for, the session to be one in which meets the needs of having a listening session on community interests and priorities for the next chief. So he is not the focus. He is just like when we have an agenda item, someone introduces it. He'll say some introductory words because he is the hiring manager and he is the lead staff member of my organization. So that I want you just to think of the context a little bit different in that, Mr. Shikata is going to speak and then you're going to do that. He's like setting the tone, opening himself up to be there, to listen to not only you, but to listen to the community.
Thank you. Commissioner Regehr and then Commissioner Kraus.
Thank you, Mika. That's exactly my point, because I felt that it was our meeting and I really wanted him to hear from the community. I didn't feel comfortable having a meeting like that was mentioned, that he was going to come and tell us what he expected from us. I, as a human relations commissioner, I would feel that it would be better to have, so I'm glad that you specifically said that what his role is going to be. It's going to listen to the community. So
and to give you some understanding about the hiring process, just because like in any organization, there is a selection process and how that works, so that people are making comments within the context of knowing, what he's thinking about, who the decision maker is, what other, I've never been involved in hiring a police chief before. There might be some other aspects of it that he wants us to know as you and the public is making comments.
That's why I thought that the other way around for us would have been more informative, having someone come an expert. But anyway, so I'm glad that that's the point, that he's coming to listen, not telling us what he expects us to do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have a job in to think about what we want.
I don't think we ever said that he was coming to tell us. I think we always said it was a public forum.
No, Commissioner Eberl just said, he's coming to kind of give us suggestions on how we can participate. But anyway, let's just move on.
Okay. All right, staff, can you please bring up the board one more time? Thank you. The liaisons. All right.
Okay. Is this going to work? Because I'm concerned now. I know on my screen, I could only see 4 of you right now. Is this going to work to have people, commissioners off camera and just have the list here? Or would you just like me to name the list? And
No, leave it the way it is. Leave it the way it is.
Okay.
Who wants to do PD?
Yeah, I can't see hands, so.
Nobody raised a hand. I'll let you know, Minka. I could see it.
Okay, thank you.
Really? After all of that?
This is the liaison relationship.
I know. Okay. I'll do PD. Commissioner Everly, you want to do PD?
Oh, that's what we're doing, PD?
I was just going to say, well, no. I mean, I'm happy for somebody else to do PD because I feel like I'm already I'm going to say that I'm going to be the mediation program unless somebody feels strongly against.
I know. I have a lot to do with the commission this year, so I would rather somebody else take PD. Do we have 2 hands for PD? Are those 2 hands for PD?
Mhm.
Okay. Commissioner Kraus and Commissioner Savage, you will be our liaisons for PD. Who wants Ebonitas? Commissioner Savage, is the hand still up for Ebonitas? Okay, does anybody want to do Ebonitas?
What
Are we doing 1 or 2 people for each?
You can do one or 2 people for each. With Avenidas, basically, it's, you just talk to them once a year.
PD, you like to have 2 voices in the room.
Okay.
I apologize, Chair Smith. This is Patty. I didn't. You had a long time ago at the beginning of the meeting asked about if we had other liaisons we wanted to put on, and I apologize that we never got back to that topic to expand the liaisons.
Well, let's get these assigned and get the council buddies, and then we'll come back and do that.
Okay, and then I have a question about the council buddies. My screen only stops at Philsef. Is there a reason?
That's because because Minka has.
I'm trying to make the screen as big as
so it's readable.
Okay.
So it's readable. All right.
I'm happy to be Ebonitas.
That would.
I mean, I don't know how we're gonna. I am.
Avenidas is 1 visit, right, Minka? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, I just don't want to overload you because we're going to need to do CDBG and Hrc, and that's a lot of work. Project Safety Net, who would like to do that?
I'll do.
Commissioner Regier. Let us do Hrc and CDBG next. Who would like to? I'll do Hrc. And does anybody who would like to join me on Hrc, please? Commissioner Kraus has raised her hand with great speed on that. Thank you. Who would like to do CDBG, understanding that you'll have 3 weeks of hard work, but then you won't have to pick up anything on it for the rest of the year?
They're expecting to have 2 people by Monday.
I'll do it.
I'll do.
If one of us can do it.
Okay, so we have Commissioner Kraus and Commissioner Eberly.
Well, I was gonna do emerging.
We need you on CDBG. It's big.
You do?
It's a bigger lift. Emerging, we can assign somebody later. We don't have a pressing need for that.
I guess we'll do it.
Okay, emerging needs. We have Savage and Regier.
Savage and, I'm sorry.
Regier.
Okay.
All right. All right. Let's do.
Fair.
Hold on.
Let's do council buddies. I will do the mayor. Who, Commissioner, who would like to do? I just want to keep tradition. Commissioner Eberly, you'll do the vice mayor. All right. I'm going to do this round robin style. Since I always start from the top of the alphabet, I'm going to start from the bottom of the alphabet this time. Commissioner Savage, who would you like? You got on mute, please.
Sorry. I'll take the next one, Dubois.
Commissioner Regier, who will you take?
I mean, I guess I don't, any of them would be fine. So I'm just saying if anybody else, if Mr. Everall or Seth, or I could be with any of them. So if any of the rest have any desire to be with anybody else, I could take any of them.
Commissioner,
So Everall, Kraus,
she already got cool.
I mean, Kraus is what I'm.
And Commissioner Kraus,
Yes.
do you have a preference?
I'd like to do Phil Seth.
Okay.
Okay, and just to note, the commissioners, Councilmember Stone is not on here because he's our liaison.
All right.
Thank you.
You have a choice of Cormac or Tanaka.
Oh gosh. Oh. So there's somebody else going to be assigned too?
I'll have to pick up the slack.
Okay, because I was Cormac before. I'll take or I can take, I mean, Tanaka or Cormac. I mean, so
Okay, you can take Tanaka. I'll take,
Okay.
you know what? I'll take Tanaka, you take Cormac.
Okay.
All right. All right, because I know he's going to be very interested in how we're doing with AAPI, so he'll call me. So, all right. I promised you 2:00 and we are done.
No, we're going to talk about the climate. You were going and the liaisons. You
Okay,
said that we could talk about
additional liaisons. What would you like?
Well, I was thinking that maybe Mika could kind of help about. I think that we need something for the unhoused or.
Do you want to just solidify your relationship with the
Stanford
Stanford committee?
Okay, that'd be good.
I think that's great, and I think that's a natural fit, and I think
That's good.
And it's an umbrella.
Good.
That's a great move. All right.
And then to also solidify, there's also that's good. That's good. Okay.
Good.
Perfect. Thank you, Mika. That's
You're
perfect.
welcome, Commissioner. And I do have one announcement before you, you and Chair.
Go.
Okay, so I wanted to let you know that starting in March and starting with our very low-key meeting on the 10th, it will be a hybrid meeting. So you will receive more information from the clerk's office. So that means that those that for health and safety reasons feel like they cannot be in person, they can be at home. But those who feel comfortable doing so will be leading the meeting in the council chamber. There will be extended support from the clerk's office to our meeting, and members of the public can be in person or they can be remote. So this will look very much like a hybrid council meeting. So people, the council members who for health reasons or concerns of being in congregate settings, they stay at home, and those that are able to be are in person. You will receive extended information about this from the city clerk's office on how that will look like. In all honesty, those that continue to stay at home, your interface will very much look like it does right now. For those in person, you will be sitting at the dais for the council meetings, and there'll be lots of very big TVs all around that will broadcast what the members of the public that are there, any presentations, and so forth. So just wanted to give you a heads up that is happening for our next meeting.
Yes, Commissioner Kraus.
Quick question, Minka. Will you guys be opening the doors, enhancing the way that the air moves? What will you be doing?
I can let Vin from the clerk's office respond to that, but everybody has to be have a COVID vaccine or proof of a negative COVID test within a certain amount of period. I know there's hand sanitizing. Vin, can you speak to air circulation at all?
That's what's gonna.
Yeah, we do have a big like air purifier machine that we put in the back, and then that we put for city council meetings. And like Mika stated, all participants are required to either show proof of vaccination or have a COVID test, negative test within the last 48 hours.
Yeah, they'll get everybody, including commissioners. So everybody that goes through that screening will get a bracelet that ensures that they have gone through the screening to be in the room.
Thank you.
And I'm excited. I get to actually see people in person. Yes,
What
Daryl.
time will the
Yes.
meeting? Will it be a 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock meeting?
You know what? If you all are generous to the leadership to make this decision, my feeling, well, you had made a decision as a commission that once you went back in person, you would re-talk about the time. My feeling is that since you were talking about the issues regarding the police, you might get a lot of people. So my feeling is we stay at 6 o'clock, that the first agenda item will be CDBG, and that'll take about a half an hour. But that we start for that earlier period to account for possibly a sizable amount of people who want to have input. And either at the end of that agenda, or we have your continued graces till October to start at 6 o'clock before you all talk about if you want to start at 7 o'clock again. But I'm thinking that that's probably is what is best given the topic.
I agree. Does anybody have any significant hesitations on that? Okay.
So I just had a question about, I'm sure we're going to get some clarification, but does that mean that each time we come, Mika, that we show our card or something, or can we put that in a system so that you automatically just know?
Vin can speak to that, but there is an application that the clerk's office has that you can enter that information. Vin, can you just talk about that? I forget the name already. Health.
Yeah, correct. We do have a online app called a Health Shield, and some other services like some hospitals, they also have their own QR codes and such, and so you can present those as well, as long as it has the information for the vaccines.
And who's going to be monitoring that? I mean, who's going to be at the door doing that?
The clerk's office or myself. They have had several council meetings to put this concept into employ. So it won't be like our meeting will be the first one. They have had a significant amount of experience working on doing these I want to say assessment, but just doing these checks.
No, I understand. I was just, because I know you were saying you're going through training. I'm just.
So I recommend we wait for the letter from the city clerk's office, because they'll probably answer 99% of these questions.
But my point is the public needs to know that because you don't want to have someone show up and they don't have their vaccine card and they don't have the results.
Yeah,
our agenda will be reflective of what needs to happen.
Yeah. So all right. And we will put that in whatever marketing we do. It's very similar to the Young Warriors games. If you don't show up, they make you go get a booster shot. I'm joking. All right, everyone. Thank you. Go outside. It is beautiful outside. It is 80 degrees. You live in California, go shovel some sunlight with the rest of your day. Thank you. We got a lot accomplished, and I feel like we're heading in the right direction. So have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.